Neighbors, this is Longjohn with the party line. Jack Keene at the controls. Old man Keene. What's wrong, Jack? Don't you know how to handle it? Don't, will you please? Jack Keene is back with us tonight. Our good friend Al Nielsen is going to take a few weeks off for well-deserved vacation, and of course we have Russell Tinklepour and Jack Keene with us tonight. And I might add that we have celebrities here this evening. I'm very happy to say that although it's not been my good fortune to have an autograph from this gentleman, I hope by the time we're through this morning that maybe he'll be kind enough to give me an autograph. But Ben Istwith, the cybernetician, is out at the Space Convention this past Saturday, September 13th. I was at Menger's Farm, Howard Menger's Farm in Lebanon, New Jersey. And I don't know why Ben was so amazed, but a lot of people rushed right over when they knew that was good old Ben, and they wanted his autograph.
I thought they were going to rush over to link.
No, they wanted to take pictures and what have you. See, this is Longjohn with the party line. From midnight to 5:30, 6 mornings during the week. Monday mornings we get started about 1, continue through till 5:30, and that means we're around for 37 and a half hours a week. During that time, we have the pleasure of talking with many interesting people. And this morning we have Ben Istwith with us, and Ellery Lanier, and Lillian Lanier. And we're going to be playing some tapes. We made a lot of tapes out at the convention. We had Bob Mantler and Dave Steele helping us, and of course,
you did a terrific job.
Boy, I want to tell you, Bob Mantler, I think Bob was sitting in front of that tape recording equipment for, possibly 10 hours or so.
With an Indian blanket wrapped around.
It got very cold at night.
It was very cold.
In the afternoon, it was beautiful out there. Wonderful, hot summer's day, plenty of sun and all. And what's these results?
You usually go around tapping things on it.
No one. We all right?
Mayor Copeland. This is an enigma.
I think we got to tell. So we've got to tell our listeners what happened. We have 5 microphones, and naturally, each one of these 5 is connected to an individual pot. There is a rheostat or a plate or whatever they call it in the control booth. So our good friend Jack Keene, he's working hard in there, and Ben is talking on a microphone, and Mr. Steen has the pot wide open and nothing happens, and he calls Russ up, and the two of them sit there, and they get their radio television training association book out. Charles Leadon's dog obedience training book out, and they're trying to figure, what are we going to do? And all of a sudden, one of the brilliant engineers decided there must be something wrong. Well, what actually happened? One of the mics, he got a little different stand. It's about 1.5 inches or 2 inches higher than the one that Ben prefers. And Ben didn't say anything to the engineer. He just switched the microphone, got one that he wants to talk into, and we didn't know what was happening. But we're in business now. Let's get back to the convention for a moment. Eden Gray was out at the convention, and of course we had... we sort of skipped over Bob Mantler and Dave Field. Actually, when we got out to the Menger farm, and it didn't take too long, I'd say about 1 hour and 15 minutes, when we got out there, we found that they were in action already. A lot of people had arrived prior to the time that we arrived there, and they have a beautiful home out there, and we had a porch. This was a screened-in porch where they permitted us to set up our equipment, and we found Jules D. St. Germain out there with his equipment, and of course the mystical tonsorial artist of Brooklyn, he was running around with his white jacket on. He had the jacket on, incidentally. There were many people walking around this. And the mystical barber was there.
Also in a white jacket.
Yes, that's right. That's Lillian Lanier. Then we...
There's a king that has a little white stripe that crisscrosses.
Well, you got to admit that he attracted a tremendous crowd.
Oh, he did.
So there was a lot of people out there. A lot of people wanted to meet the mystic barber. And we worked in this screened-in porch that the Mengers were very kind to permit us to use. We set up our equipment on a card table, and Bob Mantler and Dave Field got all of the equipment ready for us. And, I'd say about 30 minutes after our arrival at the spacecraft convention, we were in business, and we started to record interviews. We had the opportunity of interviewing, I don't know, maybe 75 or 100 people. And, of course, Taylor Kazan was with us. And, what's that? The Doe. Yeah, well, I was going to talk about Lester and, because Lester was around with me. We worked with two pieces of equipment. I had a miniature tape recorder with me, the Mohawk midget tape, which certainly turned out to be very, very handy, and I must say, thanks to the manufacturer of that unit, because they were able to give me some extra cables and things to use, which were of great value at this convention. And I was able to walk around carrying this little unit, and Lillian Lanier and Ellery Lanier and Taylor and Sergeant Morris Paley and all of these people were kind enough to get people in groups, and we had a great time. We got a lot of things on tape, and I think it'll be of interest to many of our listeners. Now, I don't know how many of these listeners read any of the articles that appeared in the newspaper. One particular thing that interested me, I didn't know this, but I'm just reading a portion of a special article that was sent to the New York Post from Lebanon, New Jersey, and the date line is September 15th. It seems that Andrew Sinatra of 702 Belmont Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, who terms himself as the Mystic Barber, circulated among the crowd handing out his business cards. The Mystic Barber wore a barber's coat. Around his head he wore a metal band rigged up with buttons and wires. He said the band kept him in telegraphic touch with the saucer man. His card read, lectures and consultations. period, extrasensory perception, period, astral projections in space, period, and solar therapy.
Krupa.
Well, later.
Not lunar therapy?
No, this is solar. Wait a minute. Unless this is no, this is solar. SOLAR. Thank you. Also, we had the pleasure of meeting a clinical psychologist, Dr. Arnold Tenenberg. And I was told that Mr. Tenenberg was interested in mingling with the people out there, and I was told that he intended to do a survey, and he was using the interviews similar to Kinsey's for paper. And I understand that the doctor is going to weed out, now this is his statement, I'm paraphrasing it, weed out liars, psychopaths, and persons suffering from delusion. And according to the doctor, he had no intention of interviewing any of those people. Pardon me. Now, according to reports, I did not see this myself. You may say, well, if you spent some 15 or 20 hours at a spacecraft convention, you would seem that you could get around a little bit. Of course, it's a 100-acre farm. And I don't mean to imply that the spacecraft convention was scattered over the entire 100 acres. But for some reason, I seemed to be on one side of the house at all times because I was on a side, and I might say the back of the house, facing a red barn, and we were told that in those barns free energy motors. I did not have the opportunity of going in the barn, and I must also be fair to the vendors. I did not request the opportunity of seeing the spacecraft, rather the free energy motors. But in the back of the house, they had a crowd of, it was estimated at about 700 or 800 people. Somebody told me they had 1,200 people. Another count turned out to be 400. Let's say they had a lot of people there. But I was working at the front of the house to get away from the lectures. After all, they had public address sessions, and I didn't want to wait 4 or 5 hours before I would start to interview. So I had my equipment, that is the microphone, around the front of the house and the side of the house, and I didn't get a chance to move around. Now, I was told, and it's also reported in this article from the New York Post, that they were selling the hula hoops. That I think you'll find that if you have a youngster, the youngsters must have a hula hoop. Everybody has them. But I was told that at the space convention, they weren't sold as hula hoops. They were sold as space rings. Now, I did not see this myself. More than that, I can't say. However, a very interesting part of the spacecraft convention, I think, was a lecture given by Otis P. Carr of Baltimore. Now, Mr. Carr, Mr. Colton of the OCC Enterprises, arrived in Lebanon, New Jersey at the spacecraft convention, I would say about 6:30 or 7 at night. And they didn't have too much time to spare for the spacecraft convention. Mr. Colton told me that they intended to come back the following day, which would be Sunday. We were there on Saturday. I am told, again, this is something that was reported to me because I didn't have time to hear the lectures, but I was told that an announcement was made during Mr. Carr's lecture that he is leaving December 7th, 1959. Where? Leaving the Earth. He's going to the moon on December 7th, 1959. And according to Mr. Carr, he was act as the pilot navigator and would take along one passenger, Major Wayne Aho of the Air Force Reserve. Now, according to Mr. Aho, Major Aho, during his lecture, he made the statement that the country was in danger because the Pentagon is hiding the truth about saucers from the public. And of course, Jules B. St. Germain, the attorney from Lynbrook, Long Island, he was invited to say a few words to the group that had gathered on the grounds in the rear of the house. And Jules B. St. Germain took the microphone just long enough to denounce the host, Howard Menger. And he made the statement that he did not believe one word of what Menger had said. However, I might also add that there was no tremendous round of applause for Jules B. St. Germain. It was dead silence. As Jules left the microphone, and of course Jules is a member of the Civilian Software Intelligence Group, and he is not a believer. Well, first of all, let me just take a moment to tell our listeners, we arrived there until about 2 o'clock in the afternoon or 2:15, and we parked our car and got out of the car and we took our equipment up to the Nebel town, our little car to sell up our equipment. And we met a gentleman from Slate Records, the man who manages Howard. He has a manager at the present time. And we met Mrs. Menger, and I told her Mrs. Menger's mother was certainly a very, very sweet and a very charming lady, a wonderful hostess. He made certain that around 7:30 or 8 o'clock at night that we were and things like that. And believe me, they were very, very welcome that hour, and we certainly appreciate it. I'm sorry to say I don't remember her name. However, it happens to be Mrs. Menger's mother. He prepared sandwiches and coffee. Must have made about 10 pots of coffee there. And certainly it was wonderful because it got rather cold around 6:30 or 7 o'clock at night. And then, of course, they had these lectures, Otis T. Carr and Holton of OTC Enterprises and Howard Menger and the various people who had been on the party line were kind enough not to give a lecture, but just to say a few words, such as Lillian Lanier and Ellery Lanier and Ben Swift and Sergeant Paley and Eden Gray and Kayla Kazan and Dave Field and Bob Mantler. We just said a few words. And, of course, we've got a lot of tapes for you this morning, but that's about my report at the Would you like to add something, Ben? Is Ben on mic, incidentally?
Well, the one thing that I wanted to say is that Ellie and I spoke about this briefly for a few moments later that night, is that I was kind of hesitant. I wanted to go, but I was kind of hesitant of going out there. I mean, because after all, we're going to a space convention, a flying saucer convention. I thought, really, we're going to be surrounded by slips of all kinds. And we got out there, and we went into this little court, and people started milling around. And, I mean, actually, the convention started on the other side of the house, and people were still milling around this court. And for a minute I felt like I was in a zoo, and people were coming, to see me in the cage or something like that. And then we started talking to these people. I started asking who was who and all the rest of it, and we started talking to them. And one thing I really want to say is that I have never met such a bunch of nice, solid, bright, wonderful people in my life. And finally began to worry me. I said, what are you doing at a space convention? I said, you really believe in flying saucers? Oh, no, we don't believe in flying saucers. We came to see Longjohn. And this happened over and over again. Every time I met some very wonderful people out there. There was a young boy I was speaking to for about 2.5 hours who taught himself electronics, a wonderful person, and several other people. And every time we get around to the conversation, I'd finally say, what are you doing in a space convention? He said, you came out too long. And this happened over and over again. And I remember at one point, when the speakers were being introduced, there was such starvation, they started clapping for Longjohn. And I think, frankly, most of the people I met out there primarily came out to see Longjohn. And I was really, very, very astonished how wonderful our listeners really are. I always knew they were great, but I really was to see this, in the flesh. These are really great people. Ellie?
Ben, I can't top your observations, although I agree with them all. I want to just mention something very strange that happens sometimes. There are coincidences in time. The last we heard of a spacecraft convention concerned with flying saucers out on the coast, something else happened at the same time, and now with this spacecraft convention, it just happened that the day following this spacecraft convention, there was another spacecraft convention going on in Detroit, Michigan, under the auspices of the American UFO Society. And it is a very curious thing. I don't know how these fellows happen to get their time so close together. And then there was another exhibit going on in New York City, Lillian and I took it in the day after the spacecraft heading out in Jersey, up at the Heidi Planetarium. And they have a very wonderful exhibit of spacecraft. And there's one model of a manned spacecraft, and there are very fine exhibits of these very strange-looking devices for flight in outer space and even beyond the solar system. This happens to be part of the public aviation company's devices that they're developing now for the space exploration. And I was speaking to one certain member of Mr. Hamilton Warren, who was various spacecraft which are wonderful. People are personally active, and this is more fantastic than anything I've heard out in Jersey. But to get back to the major farm, I think the strangest thing was the huge parking lot along the meadow facing the house with many automobiles, and somewhere along the line a fence had broken and a herd of cows had gotten loose amongst the parked cars, and people were chasing cows up and down the corridors between the automobiles. The fourth person is nursery rhyme of the cows jumping over the moon. And I was wondering whether the influence of the people who flew to the moon and the premises had affected these cows and gotten them to take these sort of semicircular leaps up into the air. And then I think very amusing. I think this whole thing was very amusing, but I think it was significant in many ways. The showing of the movie film at night of Flying Saucers and the comments of the audience about this movie, which was projected against a huge, I guess it was a huge bed sheet that was tacked up to the back of the house. Yeah.
I understood it was right on the clapboard side of the house.
Right,
it overlapped.
Well, and this was a combination of old home movies and some very odd shaped things in a very blue sky, shimmering and floating around and looking something like a jellyfish.
Yeah, one girl described them as wavering chandeliers.
Yes. And then there was an old-fashioned kind of truck wagon serving hot dogs and stuff like that. It was a great big carnival, and there were children running around and dogs running around and people were eating sandwiches. And as Ben would say, this seemed strange, but all over the place there were electronics engineers and nuclear physicists, and there were several aviators who had spent hundreds or thousands or whatever the quantity of hours are in the air all around the world at search for flying saucers and not seeing anything. This was a fantastic experience.
And I'm speechless for a moment. I remember talking to the aviator, but
close to one electronics engineer.
Well, let's face it, though.
There were
talked to a lot of people out there. Lillian.
John, my first experience after the Mensa farm was with a cow. As I stepped out of the car, this lovely woolly face came up to me, and I said to Eden girls, this must be a cow. And Eden looked this lovely thing over, and she said, if it were a cow, it would have udders. So I assumed it was not a cow. However, there were about 5 cows around this farming field. Yes. he was very small. He wasn't quite full grown. And he was sort of nudging me. He was right near the car. There were...
wasn't around.
No, he wasn't. There were several horses. There were people on horseback. I met quite a few people who said to me that they didn't really believe that we were skeptical, that the Longjohn group was skeptical. They all wanted to see Longjohn, and they wanted to know whether Longjohn, deep down in his heart, didn't really believe. And they thought all of us really felt that flying saucers existed, but we didn't want to admit it. And there was one young man who said to me that he didn't believe in flying saucers at all, but he had gotten every book and every pamphlet that was ever published on the subject, and he figured that if so many things were published, something must be true about it. Well, people we have a wonderful time, and I was able to give them answers for our names, and if they knew our names, and if they wanted to see you, John. And they were very sad that you were so busy because you couldn't really get around and see everyone.
Well, I think also that we should mention that the people out there wanted to know where a number of the other individuals were. We had a number of requests for Charles Leadham, the man with the beautiful voice. There was a lot of people.
Yes.
And
mostly elderly ladies.
I didn't think so. And actually, one lady from Drexel Hill who asked me about Charles, and she wanted to know where he was, and she wanted to know whether his voice sounded as beautiful when you saw him personally as it did over the air.
And your answer, please?
That it did indeed.
Fine.
But it's pretty tiresome carrying that echo chamber around all the time.
We had a number of people, they wanted to talk to Dave Bell. We had requests out there for Mel Trelawney, for William E. Preston Jr. We go on and on. And also, of course, this was not really unusual or unexpected. I frankly expected this to happen. But I think that possibly Lester Del Rey was a little amazed. The tremendous amount of people out there that knew Lester Del Rey, not from being on the party line. Naturally, many of them heard him on the party line. But, I mean, he was a very, very popular individual out there because people had read his science fiction stories and also his book Rocket Through Space and things like that.
Yeah, I worked out with Lester to get a cup of coffee from the concession stand, and we walked out of the porch and we made about 10 feet, and then someone stopped us and started talking to us, and the last I saw Lester, he was surrounded by approximately about 150 people.
I would like to say, John, that there were so many newspaper people and photographers, all of them wanting to come in and see you and take pictures of you, and you were so busy with the microphones and taking recordings, and not all of them could get through to you. We had quite a time looking for you and taking pictures. I also want to say that I met for the first time Mr. Van Hecht, who called very
George
often.
Van Hecht.
Yes, and you know... I met him, and he introduced himself, and I introduced myself, and he said, would you like to have a roasted chicken? And he gave me this very lovely little roasted chicken, which incidentally I didn't eat. Lester and his wife ate it.
Oh, no, now you're being unkind. No, that wasn't Lester's wife, that was his mother. Was that one you mean?
Yeah.
That was his mother. It came out that very charming lady. And I don't blame you for being a little confused. She's a very young-looking woman, that's about 55 or something like that. Very young-looking woman. Let's take a moment to talk about one of our sponsors. When we got out to the spacecraft convention, and we got the equipment set up, and we were ready to get in action, we were able to get a crowd of people around us, and we started to work. Now, I think I should make this brief announcement so that people will understand. We are outdoors when we're doing these tapes. You may hear in the background dogs barking, children crying. You will. You're right, Bob. Children crying, and there's a possibility that you will also hear other people talking, not people in the crowd that are surrounding the microphone, but people, rather the people who are giving their talks in the rear of the Hulk, because they had public address systems. Some of this may be picked up on our microphone that we had located in the front of the house. First gentleman that I had the opportunity of talking with was a man by the name of Gerford, Mr. Gerford. And he wanted to tell us something about stereophonic sound. Actually, the first question that I asked Mr. Gerford was, what bit about stereophonic sounds that you're supposed to be making?
Well, we can give it to you simply and can give it to you technically also. What we're doing is we set up a family unit based on the line and try to rekindle it and send it up to Topeka, and we work between here and Massachusetts. And there's someone up there who is doing the same thing. We use recorders that are synchronized to the line. And we use an antenna which is designed to pick up aurora and atmosphere phenomena. That sort of thing they can use.
No, I'm saying, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Well, there are any engineers and you understand what's going on, but the point is that we've been picking up sounds.
These are from outer space?
Well, we assume they are.
Well, we assume they're correct.
Well, we have gotten various voices and, well, what kind of voices? For one time, super certain. We don't know what they're saying. We visited a linguist.
Yes.
We have been studying up on linguistics. And he says that this is definitely a language. It's an intelligent language because the speech patterns tend to fall into the same patterns all the time. And there tends to be a definite structure to it, a concrete structure.
Does it sound like a male or a female voice?
Well, so far it sounds like a male. We've received more or less the same voice all the time. It's excessive nice. It seems to be a male voice. Well, until we manage to synchronize the two stereophonic recorders perfectly, you won't be able to tell direction. We're working on that now. There's a certain minimum point at which you can synchronize these things.
I'm sorry. This is out of my line. I'm interested again. I wonder if you'd repeat. What was your name again, sir?
Gerford.
Gerford. What's your first name? William Gerford. This is Ellery Lanier, the fact editor of Fantastic Science Fiction. Would you be kind enough to briefly recap again to tell us what you're doing with the stereophonic sound?
Well, what we're doing, sir, is trying to record as much as possible sounds that we've been picking up from somewhere. We assume in outer space. We've been picking up sounds. We've been picking up various unidentified sounds and unidentified voices on occasion. We did a great deal of this work in monaural sound with one single receiver. We use a long wire antenna and certain bandpass filters. And
Mr. Guilford, is this?
Guilford.
Mr. Guilford, let me ask you this. Are you certain that these sounds are coming from outer space and not from below the surface of the Earth?
Well, we will be certain as soon as the stereo results come through finally, because we can tell in two directions, but we can't tell up and down yet.
Well, in other words, at this moment, you really don't know whether these sounds are coming from outer space.
We don't know whether they're coming from up or down, but we know definitely that they're coming from a point several hundred miles away from our source.
Now, let me ask you this. Are you using devices similar to the radio telescope antennas that are being used by various nations in the world today?
Of the sort, yes. They are on the same principle.
And why can't you use the directional devices that are being used?
We've been unable to obtain any directional devices used everywhere. We have such tremendous and they're critical devices.
Mr. Guilford, do you recall the gentleman in New Jersey? I believe his name was Tarski. I hope I'm not mispronouncing. Tarski. Thank you. You recall that here in the state of New Jersey, he got some messages from outer space, which purportedly came from the direction of Mars back in the 1920s. Do you recall that incident? Do you know about it?
I don't remember anything of that kind. I know Jansky discovered the hydrogen band, the band of hydrogen radiation.
Well, did you know that radio station WOR had back in the 1920s, I believe it was on the 23rd, received some messages which apparently came from the planet Mars. It was never proven, however.
No, I was unaware of that. All that we've done has been entirely on our own without any assistance or advice from...
Well, you do say that you did get some messages.
Yes, we did get a conversation. I don't know whether it was a message directed to us or whether it was a normal conversation.
Did it sound like human speech?
That I'm unable to say. You have to hear it.
I mean, we're all trying to speak to you, all trying to speak to you, so I'm not speaking to you.
They didn't speak to me in
human language. The voices of human beings, animals have various means of communication. They talk to one another, they make sounds, and we don't. You don't know. I don't know. Some people claim they do know, but we are not certain of what the speech of people from other planets would sound like.
No. We have identified this with a linguist, who we hope is the linguist, as a language. We know it is a language. It's a language being spoken with what we assume are tongues, lips, and teeth. At least it gives that impression.
It has the structure of the language.
Yes. It follows definite speech patterns.
Mr. Guilford, I'd like you to meet Mr. Bill Rose.
Mind coming in a little closer, gentlemen?
Sure. Did you introduce him, Elliot? Yes, but I think it's completing an introduction. We haven't completed on it.
Well, what do I say? You tell me what to say, Elliot. Go ahead.
A specialist in outer space and astronomy and flights by rockets around the solar system and so on. Guilford has worked on certain devices so that purportedly have received speech sounds from outer space.
Stereophonically.
Stereophonically. By what means? We have a baseline 300 miles long and a recorder at each end of it. Yeah. And we use long wire antennas with bandpass filtering. Yeah. And what frequency are these supposed to be coming in on? I do not know. Actually, in sitting around frequencies, you need a base pass around. A base pass is not the length of the frequency. The antennas themselves are only about 50 to 60 feet long. The base pass is for the purpose of ascertaining the stereophonic correction, just as we look through microphones in normal stereophonic sound recording. Yeah. In normal stereo recording, you use something 10 feet apart.
Mr. Guilford, have you done your receiving in the daytime or in the
only
at night?
Evening. We've never tried during the day.
You don't know what frequencies?
I don't know what frequencies we're operating on. We're using bandpass filters. We don't tune. They're just wide bandpass filters. We want to cut out 60 cycle hums. Yeah. We want to cut out upper frequency. How wide are your untuned circuits? At the moment, I don't know. I can find out, I imagine. We cut the filters by cut and try, and I don't know how wide they are.
I want to ask one question.
I wish I could be more specific about it.
Guilford, you say you have done these receiving tests at night.
Yes.
And what season of the year was this?
This was some during the summer. We also did some last spring.
Could you approximate what part of the heavens were in your direction when you received this?
Well, we do most of them between 11 and about 2 a.m.
Have you approximated, say, for example, something coming from the Milky Way or from the planets or from the moon? Have you attempted any kind of localization in the sky?
So far, until we can be sure of precisely which direction our sounds are coming from, we haven't tried to ascertain what happened to be at that part of the sky at that time.
I believe Mr. Johnston had localized his speech. Now, the better the radio sounds he was speaking out of space was coming from a certain part of the Milky Way.
He did. He was getting radio sounds from any number of places, but they weren't speech and they weren't... he was getting some that were not communication. I do not know about the ones that were supposed to be intelligent communication.
Thank you very much for giving us that information. Let me talk to this young lady over here. Would you mind coming over a moment? What is your name?
I do, sorry.
What is your name?
I'm looking for.
And why did you come out to the spacecraft convention today?
I came out to see what it was all about.
Are you a believer?
No, not so far.
Do you think you will become a believer?
I have no idea. This is all new to me. I haven't looked into anything or investigated anything.
Well,
I have no idea whether I will become a believer.
So, in other words, you must have heard about this.
Yes.
You must have heard about flying saucers.
Yeah.
And how long have you been interested in them?
I can't really say right now that I'm intensely interested. I'm thoroughly interested. For a couple of years.
Did you meet any Martians or Venusians here today?
Never.
Not here, no. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming over. May I talk with you a moment, sir? What is your name, sir?
Paul Picciselli.
Well, what are you doing at the first annual East Coast Interplanetary Spacecraft Convention?
Well, I'm out here from Brooklyn because I had a sighting up at Phoenicia, New York. That's up near in the Catskills. I had a sighting with my cousin, Mr. Herbert Kirchner. And I've already made up our plug in there.
Yes. Can you do it again? What was his name? Let's go ahead in again.
Second cousin.
Herbert?
Yes.
Herbert Turkey. Go ahead. We got it in there.
No, this is a real thing. I mean, it's just, I'm not one to make statements without rash statements, without some reason.
In other words, you make unrash statements.
That's right.
Is that it?
Right.
Well, now tell us about the thing.
This was in the Catskills up in the mountains. It was a clear night on August, about the 15th, the week of the 15th, 1958, this August. And it was a pea-shaped size, and it went across the sky very rapidly. There was no noise accompanying it, and it was going on and off periodically, about once every second, going on gradually and off gradually. And went right across the sky. There was no explanation. We both saw it. There was a witness. My cousin was a witness. He saw it first, and he called me out to see it. It's a very clear night.
Mm-hmm. Ellery?
Can you describe the path this object took through the sky, whether it moved straight or did it have an erratic motion?
No, very, very straight, all the way through, right through the Milky Way, right across. No erratic motion. Great. And this is not an imaginary thing. This is, I'm not trying to make a joke out of this.
Did you say this was at night?
Yes, it was 2:30 a.m. Exactly.
2:30 a.m. And what color did the object look over? Could you see any color on it?
Yes, it was as bright as you would see Venus.
It was glowing?
Planet Venus.
Well,
Yes.
how would you know that this wasn't simply
It
a
was glowing.
meteor?
Oh no, it possibly could be the Russian satellites now they're putting up that are emitting lights now. You heard that? They've put out something that's emitting on and off light. Could be a very possible thing, but I have no explanation for it.
How high in the sky was it? Was it overhead?
Yes, it was directly overhead, and there was no apparent explanation.
What length of time did you see it for?
Approximately 30, 35, 40 seconds.
So thank you very much for giving us this information. Here's another gentleman over here. What is your name, sir?
Arthur Sable.
Arthur, there was a very attractive young lady that just went by. You seem to be very intent on the interview that I had with this last gentleman, and all of a sudden I lost your attention. Do you think that lady could be a Venusian or a Martian woman?
Man, she can be something. I don't know, but
If she is, let me ask you this question. I want a fair and square answer. If she happens to be from Venus, do you want to go to that planet?
no.
You don't want to. Why?
Well, after the carrying on that she did with that monkey over there under the tree, she was getting real attention and Howard and the other group over there were talking.
The monkey or the Venusian?
The monkey.
That's it. Thank you very much. That's the last thing. Come over here, Mama, sir. What is your name?
My name is Parker Rose.
And what are you doing out here, sir?
Well, I came up to see the proceedings.
Do you buy this? I mean, do you believe this?
Well, maybe the spacecraft will not be contact stories.
Not the contact story. Why don't you believe them?
I have to have more proof that of contact than just the face of one person.
Let me ask you this, sir. What kind of proof do you desire?
Maybe they should take me with them.
Well, no, I think that's a fair answer to my question. But let's say that somebody invited you to get into a flying saucer. Now, and you went to another planet, and you came back in 15 or 20 minutes from now, and I called you over to the WOR mic, and I said to you, I wonder if you can tell us about your trip to the planet Venus. And you described it to us, and I asked another man to walk over, and he says, I don't believe this fellow. He didn't bring back any proof. How would you feel about it?
I'll probably feel the same way as other people do, as people who doubt them like I do.
All right, sir, thank you very much. Thank you for talking with me. Would you mind coming over here, ma'am? May I talk with you a moment? What is your name?
Whitney, Bruce Whitney.
And what are you doing at the spacecraft convention?
Well, I came out here with my husband because he listens to you all the time and he wanted to see us, so I came out with him. And I work as a night nurse in the mental institution, and I spend...
Was it necessary to tell us about your background?
I spend my nights there listening to you there, too.
I was just hoping that you didn't have some of my guests.
No,
okay.
we don't have any those kind of guests.
All right. Thank you very much for talking with me. Is this your son?
Yes, it is.
What's your name, son? Lanny?
Yes.
Whitney?
Yes.
What are you doing out here today?
Nothing to do with it.
You like it?
Yes.
You believe in space people? Wait a minute, Mr. Knight. Do you think that there are flying saucers?
Yes.
Have you ever seen a flying saucer?
No.
Not at all. Would you like to?
No.
You wouldn't. Let me ask you this. Supposing somebody gave you the opportunity, Lanny, to go to the moon. Supposing a man came over and said, to you, Lanny Whitney, do you want to take a trip to the moon? Would you take advantage of that wonderful offer?
Yes.
Why do you want to go to the moon?
Just to see it is.
To see what it's like. Do you have any ideas of what it would be like? You must have thought about it. Do you think there's houses on the moon?
No.
Do you have any idea, though?
No.
No. How old are you, Lenny?
Let's say I don't know.
Just say it straight. 11. We never say 10 at that age. We always say 11, right? Closer to 12, right? Thank you very much. Thank you for talking with me. Let me talk to this lady over here. What is your name, ma'am?
That's Nebel.
And is this the first convention that she attended?
Yes, it's the first convention that I was at Giant Rock. And,
Well, that was another convention.
but not at the convention.
Oh, I see.
And also at Palomar, speaking to Adam King and Van Tassel and Christopher Boyd.
What do no, I can hear all right. Thank you, sir. What do you think of the Adamski story?
I think he's a wonderful person, and that's how I think he's telling the truth, but he wants to sort of calm it down a little bit, and he wants to keep it completely in the physical, and he doesn't want anything of the spiritual mixed into it, like so many are mixing it. That's why myself think is right.
Right or wrong?
Right.
In other words, you disagree with Adamski.
No, I agree with him, but I think that he's afraid that people are going to go overboard, and he's keeping their feet on the ground.
He is. Adamski is keeping the general public's feet on the ground. You said you were out to Giant Rock Airport.
Yes.
Not during the convention time.
No, just the month before. When we were there, we went there a couple of
Were you in the cave?
Yes, we took pictures there.
Did you attend one of the seances?
Yes, we did.
Can you describe it to us?
It
What
was
was it
very
like?
interesting. We sang songs, each one in Alpha Santa Rosa. And after a time, Mrs. Van Tassel said to the group that was there to visualize the blue light in the center, and everybody was very silent. And everything was very quiet, and then all of a sudden, Mr. Van Tassel began talking, and he gave a beautiful message that...
Can you give us a brief recap of the message? What was this beautiful message that
the message about life in general, and how we're all one with the Almighty, and that we all well, a very beautiful thing. I could never say it. I don't think he could repeat it himself after it was all over.
Who said it then?
He did, but...
Was this a spirit entity? This is what he told you?
No, he didn't say anything. I gathered that it was himself, but his higher self. His higher self.
In other words, there's two...
Oh, definitely. We are doing...
We are.
Every one of us.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it a lot. What is your name, sir?
My name is Maurice Dufour.
Maurice, what did you come out to the spacecraft convention for?
Simply because I'm interested and I want to learn more about it. I want to find out more things.
What did you find out today?
Today I haven't found out nothing much so far.
Are you disappointed?
No, not yet, because we just arrived here, so...
Have you ever had any unusual experience yourself?
Well, all I can say, I was in the Mojave Desert this spring, about the 2nd or 3rd day of May. And in driving at night, we saw a light appear into the heavens that looked to me about the size of a football. It was pulsating from a red to a yellowish, and back to a
May I
red.
interrupt you for just a moment, sir? The word pulsating.
Yes.
When did you add that word to your vocabulary? In recent years, would you
In
say?
recent years, that's right.
Listening to that word being used
I
by the
compare
people?
it with the same action that you'll find in a lightning bolt. You see there a pulsation. Well, that's what I saw in the heavens.
Okay.
So we swept the car and swept the motor. We began to look for a green light or a red light or a headlight. We saw nothing on it.
all of a sudden, instead of taking off, it went out.
You know, we're both going to take off if you don't look at me and talk this way because the microphone is that way. I know the press is coming in, but stick with me. Forget about it. That's all right.
So, well, it disappeared, and we judged that object, whatever that light was, must have been about 8 miles or 9 miles away from where we were standing in the desert. So we started the car up again, and pretty soon it reappeared. So again we stopped our motor, and I always forget it. And no sound. Everything was real things up in the desert. So we went on further, and it reappeared again. So this happened 7 times.
7 times?
Yeah, we were on our way to...
In what length of time?
That all happened in less than 25 minutes.
7 times?
Yeah. So we finally got to Giant Rock.
You were on your way there?
Yeah, we were. Three ladies.
Yes.
So we went on the Giant Rock in that cave there, you know. We had a meeting room and all that. So some people said, I decided, they kept saying, look, there we are again. They had it fixed to the windows. So we didn't stop the meeting so that we went on.
You mean you didn't stop the meeting? No. You never stopped the
Logical. So now, we are...
So would you mind if I continue? Thank you. Is there something you'd like to correct? Thank you. Would you mind?
I want to hear the rest of the story. Now we're sitting in the cave beneath the rock at Giant Rock Airport, and George Van Tassel is in a trance. No, I wouldn't say a trance. Everything was quiet. No, who said a trance?
I said a trance.
Oh,
I'm asking a question.
No, he was not the trance.
What was he in?
So he was deeply involved in whatever he was saying, which I can't remember. No,
I'm not going to ask you to repeat it, but I'd like to ask you this, sir. If he wasn't in a trance, and if he was involved, would you say that's between a trance and his normal conscious state? Sort of in between?
You could call it that, yes, but I could neither call it a deep trance or a self-hypnosis, or I'd call it more of a semi-awareness.
Semi-awareness.
Because the words that he was speaking or bringing through his mouth were words that you don't hear no preacher or preach.
I don't want you to repeat everything. I couldn't. I'm telling you that's why I say, because I should have written it all down. Take too long. Let me just ask you this, sir. I want to present a couple of questions. We have a lot of people who are going to be kind enough to talk to us, and I would love to take hours with you, but I only have a brief period of time. I want to ask you this question, sir. Do you think that somebody else was using the vocal cords of George Van Tassel, or was it coming from his mind?
It surely came through his mind. It might have came out of his mind from outer space. Now, that I don't know the function of it. See, that is, to me, so far incomprehensible. I could imagine it so, and I could imagine it not so. I must admit, I don't know, but it was wonderful.
Fine. One quick question, sir. Yes. You've heard the Howard Menger story, haven't you?
Yes.
You don't want to go through it?
Yes.
Do you believe it?
Well, that's what I'm here for. You know, I'm a
Not necessarily. I don't believe a word of it.
I know what I've seen, and
that was not my question. Let me start over
So
again.
far, yes, I'll answer yes.
You do believe the story?
Sure.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate the opportunity of talking with you. Come in here, sir. What is your name?
Dave Pitzer.
Dave, what are you doing at the convention today?
Well, I just came out of curiosity. I've listened to your show for a long time.
Thank you.
And
we got to listen.
Well, keeps me asleep in school when school's going on. But
I thought you were sleeping when the program was on.
No, I should be, but my history teacher is always waking me up, and so I have you to thank for it. But it's very interesting. I find it more interesting history.
Good.
And came up to take some pictures, and just I'm halfway in between believing and not believing. I'm not sure.
Well, let me ask you this. How did you arrive at that point, the halfway point of believing? In other words, you must have started as a non-believer. The first day was when I was
heard Dan Fry. And to me, his story is the most convincing. It really is a great one. It's for, and I think a man of his position and his knowledge is, I don't know any reason why he should lie. And it's the most convincing story. So I got interested then, and then I heard Menzies and the other men on the saucers. And that way, well, I half believe it and I half don't. And I came out here to see just what was going on.
Where do you go to school?
Westfield High in Westfield.
Thanks very much.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome.
Let me talk to this lady a moment. Do you mind coming over, please?
I don't think I have very much to say.
Well, first of all, you could tell me your name.
Well, I'm Mrs. Arnold Salata.
And where
And I
do you live, Mrs.
live
Salata?
down about 2 miles out of Clinton,
Clinton, New Jersey.
Yeah.
And on Route 46?
No, I live in a little town halfway between the two highways. A little place called Hamden. And I hear you on radio in the morning. You wake me up.
Good. Very
I'm
well.
very much interested.
Do you like flying saucers?
I saw one once, actually did. And I don't know much about it, but I did see one.
Thank you very
And
much.
I do believe in them.
Good.
I have a book coming out next month.
Well, when it's ready, you contact me. Maybe we'll talk to you about it, all right?
No, I want to send you one. That's
Thank
all.
you very
I
much.
want to be like that.
Thank you a lot. And let's get back again. What is your name, ma'am? What is your name, ma'am?
Lila Bell.
Lila, when did you first become interested in flying saucers?
About 2 years ago.
And what created
I read George Adams's book, and I read Major Kehoe's book. And but I don't believe Howard Menzies.
Is there any similarity between Kehoe's book and Adams's book?
No, not at all. Well, just in the fact that they both believe in the saucers, but Major Kehoe's was more of a factual book, whereas George Adams's was the, well, he said, no, not fictional, but he said that he wasn't up to spacemen and all that. Major Kehoe just stated facts and sightings and so forth.
Do you believe it?
I believe in
Adams's story. You believe
Yes, I believe his story, yes.
that he met space people?
Yes, I believe his story, but I don't believe Howard Menzies.
Now, you've repeated that the second time, that you don't believe Howard Menzies' story. I'm interested in knowing why you can believe the Adamski story, and there's a certain amount of elected to believe the Howard Menzies story. May I also go on record as saying I don't believe either one?
Well, I've never met George Adamski, and of course, maybe if I met him or heard his lectures, I might not believe him either. But I did go to a few of Menzies' lectures, and every time he was asked a question, he always evaded the issue, and anyone that isn't forthright in their answers, well, I don't trust.
Do you think that after you read the Adamski book, that there was sufficient evidence presented to you to the book?
There was no evidence, really, that was presented. No evidence, actually, just his word.
Well, how about, well, that's true, just his word. But do you think that he went into greater detail than Howard has at his lectures? I might add, I've never heard a Howard Menzies lecture, although he's been on the party line many times and has told us a lot of stories.
Well, I think that George Adamski's stories went all tied into the Bible, as far as I'm concerned.
Is this why you like to believe in flying saucers? Because of that?
Well, I believe that all the accounts in the Bible, my own belief, is that they were originally saucers. In other words, in the Old Testament, Ezekiel and...
the wheel?
Yeah, and Moses, I believe that they all were flying saucers.
Did you ever read any of Jessup's books? I forget the title of one, UFOs in the Bible, I think
Yes,
that's
I
the
read
title.
that book, yes.
Do you agree with Jessup's
Yes, I
opinion?
do, but I had formed my own opinion before I read his book.
I sincerely hope that this is not too personal a question, but do you consider yourself to be a very religious person?
Yes, I do.
Is that why you're interested in it?
No, that isn't the reason why.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been searching for years for an answer. I never believed any of the stories of the Old Testament.
Mm-hmm.
They never made sense to me before. I don't.
Flying saucers make a little sense.
They make sense to me because I don't see how any God could create all these planets throughout the universe and then only put people on ours. To me, that doesn't make
In other words,
sense
you
to
feel that
believe
we're
that.
narrow-minded in believing
Yes,
that we
I
are
do.
the only people who are living on a planet. You
Yes,
feel
I
that?
do.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think that there are Venusians and Martians and Saturnians on this planet walking around like you and I are today?
I haven't really thought that far. I would say that I don't believe it or I don't disbelieve it. I wouldn't venture to say that they definitely, I definitely believe that. I don't believe that. I mean, if someone, I'd have to have proof that someone said they were from there.
Everybody seems to have that same desire. What is proof to you? Supposing I said that, well, this happens to be Ellery Lanier by now. I guess you know that. He's been with me on the party line many times. Supposing you didn't know that this was Ellery Lanier, and I'm not trying to be facetious at this time. I'm very serious. Supposing somebody pointed this man out and said, don't let anybody else know it, but this man is here from another planet visiting today. Would you accept this? Would you believe it?
Not just by you saying that, no.
All right, fine. You've answered that part of the question. The second part of the question, what proof would you want from me or from this alleged Venusian?
Well, I would expect him to be able to be a little bit adept at mental telepathy.
Uh-huh. Well, why are you?
No, I'm not.
Well, why is it that people on this planet then don't have that ability, and yet you expect people on other planets to have it?
Because people on other planets are so far advanced, they would have to be advanced.
How do you know this?
So how would they get here if they weren't advanced? They would have to be advanced.
See, we're coming right back. We went into a circle now. How do you know that there is anybody here from another planet?
Well, if you could tell me what I was thinking, and if you could tell me a few other things about my own life and things that no one else would know, I might believe it. I might have a receptive mind.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. May I talk with you, sir? Would you mind coming over here, please? You don't look like a Venusian to me. What is your name, sir?
My name is Al Ross.
Where do you come from, Mr. Ross?
Outside New Jersey.
Is this the first time you've been at one of these conventions?
Yes, it is.
What do you think of it?
Well,
Honest?
fascinating. Let me put it that way.
You called a moment to select a word.
I wanted to be very careful with my words.
Uh-huh. Do you believe any of the stories?
Well, prior to this meeting, I had occasion to listen to one of your programs, and some gentleman was discussing flying saucers.
Do you happen to remember the...
No, I don't. It's some time back. However, the name Keyhole was brought in at the time,
Mr. Keyhole, right?
and I decided I would get the book.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was Flying Saucer Conspiracies, not mistaken.
I think that's the title, yeah.
And I went to the public library, I read the book, and I certainly didn't believe any, I wouldn't have believed any such thing prior to that time. But after reading Keyhole, I felt that there evidently was something to it.
Why do you have that attitude now after reading Keyhole? Well, first of all, let me ask you this question first. Have you read Adamski's book?
No, I haven't.
Have you read any other book on flying saucers?
No, I have not.
Well, then it would be difficult to get an honest opinion from you because you can't compare. In other words, I was interested in knowing if you know the Adamski story.
No, I do not.
Do you know the Howard Minter story?
Only from what I heard in what I saw in the Jack Parr show.
Well, that was very little.
Very little, yes.
Very true.
Out of curiosity, I came here today. I haven't made it a practice to read other periodicals or books literature in this convention matter. But as I outlined earlier, it is very fascinating, and I'd like to know a little bit more about it.
Do you think that there's a possibility that there are people arriving here from other planets? When I say here, I'm not referring
referring to this particular location where we are today, I mean, on this planet. I don't disbelieve it. Let me put it that way.
Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate the opportunity of interviewing you.
Well, that's more of them, and we've got a lot more for you, too.
You wanted to say something?
Oh, yes. John, we got quite a bit of fan mail because you announced that we were going out to the convention, and among the letters, there were several that came in with news clippings, and one had a news clipping of the Newark Sunday News, dated September 14th, 1958, and there's a big article about the Flying Saucer Convention, and it's titled Flying Saucers Fail to Show, and the writer is a staff correspondent, Richard Hapster. And there's a subtitle that says, "But 500 pay $2 to hear of space." And then there's a little description of all the things that were sold as part of the show, as part of the Flying Saucer Convention. And I'm quoting now. It says here, also on sale were the complete collection of Mendes photographs of flying saucers at $5 a set. Most frames from $8. In addition, they sold Mrs. Mendes' book, My Saturnian Lover, under her pseudonym, which is Marla Baxter. And there were a number of other things on sale, such as the record album that Howard had made. There's a little notice here that his former wife doesn't believe in space people, and she also said that Howard, who had wanted to be a songwriter, had known this city a long time ago. He used to play it on the piano. She said that the song now sold as music from outer space, and it was his favorite city, which he sounded out on the piano before the people from the other planet landed. And this is
Is this your opinion, or are you reading something?
No, I'm reading this from the New York Sunday News, September 14th, 1958. As a matter of fact, I didn't know all this. I have met Howard. Yes, I have met Howard and we've talked, but I didn't know this. This is news to me.
I thought he couldn't play this music.
No, he recorded this. Charles is leading I thought it was the very first night that the man came here with the album, and if I'm not mistaken, one night Charles was on the party line, and we interviewed and Howard, and they Howard, I think, explained that he received, I may be wrong about this,
Telepathic?
yeah, telepathic communication from, he didn't know from where. He received this message, and it told him to get into his car and drive down X highway. And he continued down that highway, and then he received another message to make a left or a right turn at the next road. And he did that, and it seems to me that he went down a dirt road, or certainly not a major highway, went down a little side road. And over to the left someplace there was a little shack, at least it appeared to be a wooden shack from the outside, and he pulled off that country road onto the road that led to this shack, and he knocked on the door. I might add, all this time we are told that he was receiving telepathic communications, guiding him, in other words, suggesting what he should do, and he rapped on the door, and it seems to me there was a piano there, and somebody was there that taught him that. Charles just happened to stop in for a moment. Charles, will you just a moment, please?
John, I just want to say that if any of the listeners just tuned in, this is not my opinion. I read this in the newspaper.
I realize that, yes. You know, well, I'm not sure what about the sound of it. Wasn't there sort of a broken down shack or something in New York State?
Howard heard the music coming from the shack. It wasn't a piano, though, John. It was a Saturnian instrument, which rather conveniently was very much like a piano. The development has been parallel. Mm-hmm. And Howard heard the music, and I think the ability may have been telepathically imparted to him that he was able to recall it note for note. It was also fortunate, you might want to note, that the Venusian scale had the
440 cycle A, the same as ours, which helps things a lot. So Howard picked this up after one hearing.
But he, didn't he say, I don't know, I was thinking of other things, he couldn't play the piano before.
This was what was said at one time or another by our estimable friend.
This newspaper apparently advocacy things that we don't know. He was interviewing quite a few people, including the first Mrs. Menzer, the former Mrs. Menzer.
Well, I will say, after hearing the record, that I tend to believe Howard. So I wouldn't want to dispute anything he said, you understand?
Well, I know nothing about
you think it's authentic music.
No, I think he can't play the piano.
I think in our fairness, Charles, I think that if I read this paragraph, that there's a possibility that this will enlighten a couple of listeners. Some years later, Howard Menzer met a man from Chatham who played for him a Quaternion instrument very much like our piano, just as you said. He instructed Howard Menzer that he was to bring this music to the attention of the people here on Earth by playing it for them on a piano. Howard Menzer never played a piano before and had no knowledge of music whatsoever. Yet he was assured that when he sat down at the piano, his hands would be guided and he would be able to play. From that time on, Howard Menzer has been able to play the piano. He plays best after midnight. On several occasions, he played for hours without rest, while his spellbound friends listened in appreciative silence and awe. This music, as played by Howard Menzer, is never duplicated in his interpretation. When he is playing, it has a wonderful effect on many people hearing this music. Now, I'm reading from the album entitled Authentic Music from Another Planet. This is one of the liner notes on the jacket. So you're right. I forgot about how this all occurred. You're correct.
I should point out that this is probably one of the greatest cases of frustrated songwriters in the world. Here, this poor Saturnian kicked around on Saturn for years. He couldn't get the music published or played. He had to come all the way down to Earth to get somebody to listen to the thing and get it distributed, which is, you've got to admire the man's punk.
Well, and we're talking this morning with Ben Iskwood, Ellery Lanier, and Lillian Lanier. Charles William just stopped in for a moment. Let me remind you again, just in case you've joined us during the past few minutes, we're talking with Ben Iskwood, the mathematician, Ellery Lanier, top editor of Fantastic Science Fiction, and Lillian Lanier, and we're talking about a day that we spent at the Menzer farm. We were very fortunate to be able to participate in the first annual East Coast Interplanetary Spacecraft Convention this past Saturday. And I understand on Sunday they had a large crowd there too. There's a little discrepancy according to some of the newspapers that I've seen. I don't know, was there a report in the clipping that you received in your mail? I didn't see any of the Jersey papers as far as the amount of people. Did you notice?
They say 500.
I happen to know Dick Harpster, who wrote the article. Isn't that who wrote it, you said?
Yes, Richard Harpster.
I know him, and I think that he's a very, very capable reporter, certainly a very accurate reporter. I hope that if Dick is listening, that he will accept my apologies. I feel that there were many more people. Somebody told me, pardon me, Lily.
I was going to say there certainly were a lot of cars there. I didn't count them.
I was going to comment on the cars. I suggested to somebody, I don't know if it was George Van Heck or somebody else, to count the cars. That is, to stand on the hilltop there, because the cars were in the valley to count the cars. Somebody came back with a count of something like 600 cars. Now, I did not count these. I don't know, but it was a little over 600 according to the count that was given to me. If this is true, I don't think I'm wrong when I say that we could possibly figure that maybe there's at least 2 to a car. Some people, I think, because I noticed some of the family 3 and 4, but let's say even 2 to a car. If this is true, 600 cars, this adds up to about 1,200. At least, no. I mean, providing they have 2 in a car. Certainly, very few people came single alone.
You know, John, there were quite a number of people who helped out Howard from the neighborhood. They sort of did a little directioning and so on. Not a lot of neighbors did, and they wore signs saying moonmen, spacemen. Did you notice that?
No, I didn't.
Well, I did, and I spoke to several of them, and he said that Howard had invited them to sort of do a little helping.
Oh, wonderful. Very nice. Very nice.
Cooperative neighbors.
Very nice. Ben, I must say that my, aside from the day that was full of thrills, my greatest thrill of the day was when some newspaper reporter asked everybody and turning next to me if this was Mrs. Discourse. And I hope Lester's not listening.
What do you say, Bob? We ready? All right, fine. I'll take one piece of business here, and then we'll be back with our guest of the morning. Tapes that we made at the first annual East Coast Interplanetary Spacecraft Convention. Can I talk with you, ma'am? What is your name?
Connie Grady.
Connie Grady. Did you meet Ellery Lanier?
No, I didn't, but I've heard him many times.
Well, Ellery mentioned to me before, he said, I'd like to have the opportunity of talking to that lady. So I'm going to let Ellery talk with you if you want.
Wow.
Please, we'd like to hear.
Would you repeat your name?
Connie Grady.
Connie Grady. You have listened to the Longjohn show.
Yes.
And I imagine you are interested in the flying saucer question.
Yes, I am.
Have you had any personal experience?
I wish I had, but I haven't, no.
Have you listened to discussions of the flying saucers specifically?
Yes, I have.
And what did you think of them?
Well, my opinion varies. At first, I was a little more enthusiastic than I am now. When I first heard about Major Kehoe and his reports, and I'd like to believe them.
Well,
but I don't really. I mean, I wish it were true, but I feel that I don't think it is now.
How does the thought of people coming down from the sky, or persons or beings out of the sky and strange machines, how does that affect you? Does it frighten you?
Not a bit. No, it doesn't.
Can you think of what happened when Columbus first came to the New World and saw people on the shores? Do you think he was frightened, or whether he took this as a matter of course? Do you think this is something in the same order? Would you be glad if
No, I don't think it's in the
people
same
on the planet?
I don't think it's the same
You don't.
order.
So how do you think it differs?
Well, my feeling would be that anybody that could come from another planet here is so much more intelligent than we are, and I'm not afraid of intelligence. I think that's the answer to everything, is the more intelligent we are, the further we'll go along.
Do you think just the fact that these people could make a flying saucer would necessarily make them more intelligent than we are?
Well, they're a little smarter.
With machines?
Yes.
And why do you say, I gather you think that they would be friendly, you're not afraid of them. Do you think that people who can make very good machines are friendly people? Does that follow in your mind?
No, but if they came down here and they were just investigated, or if these stories are true, they're obviously friendly people.
Well, do you think they're just sort of looking us over and sizing us up? Perhaps they want to test us or enslave us or something to that effect?
No, I don't think so. I think if they are observing us, it's just a matter of interest. The same as we would have observing us.
Oh, do you think we might be as little ants to these people in flying
I think it's
saucers?
possible. That isn't my theory. I think it's one of the theories that's
You
possible.
mean they might even look down at us and just not really take any particular notice of us? We don't really mean very much on the planet, just little ants flying around?
I think it's possible.
Well, how did you feel about it if you were considered just a little ant carrying around to be stepped on the pitch?
Well, do you think the ants worry about what we think of them?
Well,
I don't know.
have you ever turned over a stone with some ants crawling under it and watched what the ants do?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
Well, did they think you were very friendly? What did they do?
I don't think they had any friends. I mean, we're so far above an ant. But I don't think they took any of those friends at all. I mean, I could have been an earthquake to them.
Yes. I have observed that ants scurry away. They run away and pick them strangleholders.
Yes. Out of fear for protection.
Yes. Well, what about my stuff? There's a possibility that these flying saucers are not friendly. Do you think we should take measures to protect them from them?
I'll say frankly, I haven't given any thought at all about them not being friendly.
Well, this is very interesting. And
Connie Brady.
Thank you, Connie Brady. What is her name?
Peggy Bajoric. Peggy Bajoric. Peggy Bajoric.
Well, Peggy, I noticed that you were smiling at one of the answers to the question about whether human beings were the equivalent of ants that could be stepped on. And what is your feeling about flying saucers?
I think there's something with those coming to the roof. I do believe so.
Have you had any personal experience?
No, but within me I feel that there is some superior, something more superior than we are, coming here. And of course, I think it's the theory of the world is on the end. I don't know. It's just my knowledge. I think God is sending down these.
You listen to the man, John?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I don't sleep night and day.
Well, I'm glad you listened. Thank you very much, Peggy. We appreciate it a lot.
Let me question this, gentlemen. I think we have a couple of people here from Pittsburgh, if I'm not mistaken. Would you two gentlemen be kind enough to come over here, please? Want to step right over here, please? What is your name, sir?
Joe Cutie Cogan. Pittsburgh. Connie Horgan from Pittsburgh.
Give me that last name again. What was it?
Cutie Cogan.
And what's the first name?
George.
I'll handle it still, all right?
Okay.
Fair enough. We were talking over there a moment ago. You said that you've heard some of the party line bits and that you were a little interested in this, and you came out today and you were rather disappointed. And why not you to tell our listeners why you were disappointed, why you don't believe in saucers as much as you did prior to coming out here?
Well, the truth of it, I think it's a very badly planned situation here. They announced it as a show, and I have to agree with them that it is a show. I thought that we would get a little more conclusive lecturing here, but they seem to be off on tangents and so forth, and it doesn't add up to be somebody's true belief as far as I'm concerned.
Did you ever hear any of these people speak prior to today?
Other than your program, no.
Do you think that when you heard them on WOR, that it was more interesting? I'm not looking for a compliment because it had nothing to do with me.
No,
I'm interested in your honest opinion.
I'm unbiased in that direction, but I think it was more interesting on the program for this reason. There was a stopper in yourself in all this talk that they were putting forth. I mean, there was contradiction. Here, there's nobody contradicting. They're just running away.
Well, of course, I am not here defending them because, as I've mentioned on the air time and time again, I have nothing to do with it. This gives me an opportunity to meet people, just like you gentlemen here. I don't buy any of it. I've said this on the program dozens and dozens of times. But in all fairness, I think I would have to represent them and say that when a man is giving a speech, you can't expect, in other words, you heard Eisenhower speak, and there's nothing you can do by saying, now, wait a moment, let's cut this out. I don't believe it. You know what I mean? You don't have that opportunity. Now, I understand they're going to give you a chance to ask questions. I have been told. I may be 100% wrong. Pardon me. Sorry.
Well, the thing I mean by that is this. When they're on your program, they speak with quite a bit more reservation than they do right here. They're rather careful. They're picking your words, much like I am right now. They pick their words quite a bit. when they're on the program with you, because they know the attendees are going to contradict yourself or some of the other boys.
Well, there's another reason, too. I must be very fair with you and tell you this, that I do have a couple of ground rules. First of all, I believe that we have a few listeners, and I don't want to offend any segment of the listeners, because many of these fellows who come on the program, they immediately want to tie religion into the discussion. It's a metaphysical approach, a religious approach to things, and I feel that we may offend some of our listeners. So I tell them that I do not want that part of their story. I mean, there are some stories that you'll never hear on the party line that are so wild that I wouldn't repeat them now, because we're on a live mic, too. Yeah. We had the experience, well, I don't know how many shows you may have listened to, but there are times, I might say very seldom, I'm happy about that we don't even finish with a guest. In other words, something has happened. I'm looking in on the inside. Something happened, and all of a sudden you'll find that I announce that we're very grateful that Mr. Jones came from nowhere, Nebraska, and we hope that he'll join us again. And at that point, Mr. Jones, we're helping him pack up. And if Mr. Jones decides that he's going to stay till 5:30, not put on a big brow, but it's up to me to put on a commercial, an electrical transcription, a no-dose commercial, which gives me 58 seconds to tell Mr. Jones that he's leaving, and at 24 floors down, the elevator would be slower but more convenient. So that's why this happens sometimes. Let me talk to this gentleman. Sir, again, your name.
My name is Connie Horgan. I live in Pittsburgh, I'm a neighbor of Joe's. And I won't talk anything about this flying saucer stuff, but I'll just say you cost me a lot of money. Now, Ralph is brought everything from no dose to an Niagara deep massage. The only thing that'll make this thing real to me is when you start advertising flying saucers, I wouldn't buy one.
Thank you very much.
That's all, Joe.
Thank you. Thank you a lot. Nice meeting you. Thank you, sir. Very good.
Yeah, that's more of the interviews, and we've got more for you in a little while. This is WOR Radio, your station in New York. Longjohn with the party line. We have a lot of telegrams rolling in here, believe me. Now, here's a telegram that's a little wet. And have you got the Newark Evening News there? Is that what was sent to you?
The Newark Sunday News.
Sunday News. Well, that's what we have. Do you have anything there about a fake message? Is there something in there? Because I have a telegram here, and before it's read, I'm sorry that these have to be read. Is there something in there? Don't read it. Just tell me.
No. I can't quite find it right now.
Have you got September 15th?
No, I have September 14th.
Well, here, we have one here. Do you want to read this, please? Now, I would like to say this, that I know nothing about this. This is from Elsa M. Teeterback, Plainfield, New Jersey, and here's her message.
Longjohn. In Newark Evening News, September 15, quote, his divorced wife, who at one time backed his story, has charged he is a fake. She says his saucer photographs are phony and that he once faked a message from outer space with a shortwave radio and a tape recorder. We'll forward articles to you from Elsa M. Teeterback of Plainfield, New Jersey.
Well, my only comment on that, Chris, is actually it isn't necessary for me to comment, but I will anyway. I know Rose Menger, and I also know Marla. And both of these ladies I consider to be very pleasant people. And I
I know nothing about what the statements that are being made by the ex-Mrs. Menger, and I have never had the opportunity of seeing her since they have parted, and this has happened to many families, so I don't think that anybody is in a position to condemn a man or a woman because they have reached a point in their lives when they are no longer compatible. I don't think this has happened before. It's very unfortunate that family ties must be broken, but it could happen to anybody. So I think some people, and I'm not referring to Elsa Tiedeback, because she is not being critical. She is merely reporting or quoting an article that appeared in the Newark Evening News. And that's all I can say about this particular message. Now, let's getting back to the tape. I had a gentleman in a blue shirt. I had a gentleman here in a blue shirt. Oh, he's way over there. I'll talk. Would you mind coming over, sir? This gentleman here in the blue shirt. Would you mind coming in here, sir? Like to talk with you a moment, sir. How are you? What is your name? On the phone. I talked to you on the phone one night. What is your name again, sir? Perry is my name. Oh, yes. Mr. Perry, are you enjoying yourself at the first annual East Coast Interplanetary Convention? Very much, sir. Why? Well, it's a beautiful day. I agree with you. Great seeing you, Joe. More than that, sir. Mr. Munger has a very pretty view from his place. That I'll buy. He's got a bigger house than he had before. You must be looking up in the world. Keen observation, to say the least. I understand, just so that we can set the record straight, this is the first time I've been out. I've been invited to come out here dozens of times. In fact, I was offered a ride in a saucer, but I'm too busy. And, I don't like flying anyway. Are you going back pretty soon? Pretty soon where? To another planet? No. New York? No, I won't be going back for a little while, but I think you're talking about the house. Mr. Menger recently married the very charming young lady back there, and this happens to be Marla Baxter's home. So Mr. Menger was not that lucky with the brush and the pot of paint making time. He married in with them. Lucky, huh? You against that? No, I said you wanted, huh? Sure, you're lucky boy. Good. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. I'll see you again sometime. Good. Before you leave. All right, thank you, sir. Let me talk to this gentleman over here. Yes. Would you come over, sir, please? What is your name, sir? Harry Specter. Harry Specter. Ellery, you want to come around here and meet? This is Ellery Lanier, Harry Specter. Possibly Mr. Specter has a couple of opinions, Ellery. Mr. Specter, have you listened to the party line? Yes. And you've heard these various stories about flying saucers and people from outer space and other planets. That's right. What is your reaction to them? As far as I'm landing, I'm not sure. I do believe that there's life exists on other planets. What do you base that opinion on? Nothing physical. Well, what kind of evidence do you accept for life on other planets? I'm not vain enough to think that we're the only ones that are populated. This is the only world that's populated. Well, this is just a matter of reasoning on your part. You don't have any factual evidence to base your opinions on. None at all. Have you ever looked at the other planets through telescopes? Once. So what did you see? It looked like stars, that's all. Which planet did you look at? Do you remember? Oh, no, I couldn't identify them. Well, did it look like anything that you would imagine this planet would look like if you were far away Earth? Looks like, if I looked at a map, well, it's hard to explain. It's like the moon, let's put it that way. Did you ever look at the moon through a telescope? Yeah. Have you ever heard Mr. Menger's descriptions of what the people on the moon were like and what the buildings on the moon were like? Mm-hmm. I did. Could you imagine seeing buildings such as those described by Mr. Menger on the moon after you looked at them? I think it would be pretty tough to recognize any buildings.
Well, do you think buildings could exist in the type of thing that you saw when you looked at the moon?
Still a hard question to answer.
Well, why did you come out to this meeting, this space
Truthfully,
conference today?
you're not on the gentlemen.
Well, you obviously then don't believe in flying saucers.
No, that's not true.
Oh, you don't believe in them?
I do believe in other planets having people living on them. I do believe that they have sense the way we do, but as far as superiority, I don't know yet. I have no proof of that.
Do you think it is possible that they are studying the Earth with a possible idea of coming and landing here and taking over?
I don't know what their reason would be, but if they're more intelligent than we are, then they've gone beyond us, and they're not looking for merely input.
Well, a good idea if our government or all the governments of the world did something to prepare for any possible attack on the planet Earth by people from other planets.
I don't believe we have anything that'd be powerful enough to stop them if they're well superior to us.
Oh, do you think that seriously?
That's true.
Well, I feel much safer after hearing you say that. However, I think many people don't have the feeling that flying saucers could possibly be dangerous or have evil intentions toward the Earth. I get a sense of their being friendly and affectionate toward...
I'm more inclined to believe that myself.
You are?
That's right.
Well, so what was your name?
Harry Specter.
Well, Harry Specter, and I hope you see your flying saucer tonight. I see the sun is setting in the west, so it is not quite setting yet.
It's a material to move over. They come up and come.
Well, keep your eyes open.
Right.
Thank you. What is your name, ma'am? Nancy Vignola. Nancy Vignola. Have you come to see flying saucers today? No, I didn't. Are you interested in flying saucers?
Not especially.
Not especially. Well, how did you happen to be here today?
I came with a friend out of curiosity.
And what have you found out? What has your curiosity discovered?
Well, maybe I missed the main essence of what the skeptics were saying, but I haven't really gotten too much education about flying saucers from what I've heard.
What does about flying saucer mean?
Not an awful lot, because it isn't actually a subject that is really discussed in detail. Everybody sees a flying saucer, and then it's supposed to be something up in the sky. And for the normal people like us, that's all you hear.
Where do you come from?
Roswell, New Jersey.
Apparently there have been many sightings of flying saucers over New Jersey. Have you heard or met any people who claim to have seen saucers in New Jersey?
No, I haven't.
How would you feel about it if you saw a proof that there were people coming from other worlds in flying saucers? Would this mean anything to you?
If I saw proof.
Yes, what would it mean to you if someone showed you this proof? What would you think or feel about this?
It would mean that everything I've believed ever since I've been a child is wrong.
And then what?
And then I just would have to continue from there with a new outlook on life.
A new outlook on life?
Yes.
Have you started to think about this or this question at all since you came to this meeting today?
No.
What is your name?
Nancy Vignola.
Nancy Vignola from New
Jersey.
Hopewell, New Jersey. Thank you. Very nice meeting you.
Well, some people may think we're off. Of course, that was a question to Dave Field and J. Robert Mantley when we were out at the first annual East Coast Interplanetary Spacecraft Convention. I wanted Dave Field or Bob Mantley to cue me if we were off as far as taste was concerned. Of course, I suppose some people listening, maybe Ben Lippman, says, they're all off. I thought it was interesting, though, to have the chance of talking with all these people. Honestly, the people out there were really wonderful. I mean, wonderful people to have the chance to talk to. This is WOR Radio, your station in New York, 710 on the dial. And as a reporter, and I might add that that's what I consider myself as far as the convention was concerned. I was just acting as a reporter out there. I would like to make this comment. I think it will be of interest to some of our listeners. when I had the opportunity of attending the 4th annual Interplanetary Spacecraft Convention out in Yucca Valley, California, about 17 miles north of Yucca Valley, California, I interviewed a number of people out there. I think most the regular listeners will remember those tapes. It's interesting to note
Well, let's find out what the people out here at the Howard Menger farm. I understand that this is a 100-acre farm, and we took a brief break to change tape. However, this will possibly not be noticed as you're listening to this. I don't know what day this is that you're listening, but I know that today, that is the day that we're recording this, is Saturday, September 13th. It's a beautiful day out here. Where are we? Valerie, this isn't Lebanon, is it? We're somewhere near Lebanon. I don't know the this is Hydrant? No, we are near White House. Well, nevertheless, it's a beautiful day. A lot of cows and horses over there, but no sausage. And, look at this. Well, that's a sensible question to ask, but I'm not going to argue with you. Let us stream them all over the place. Last I'm going to put you on a spot, no, but let me talk to this gentleman here. Come in here, sir, a moment, please. Come in here, sir. What is your name, sir? Conrad Brown. Conrad, is this the first time that you've been to one of these outings?
Yes, it is.
Are you really interested in the possibility of flying saucers?
I would say so, yes.
What created this interest in your mind?
Well, I suppose the first articles back in about 47.
You mean the ones about Kenneth Arnold?
Yes.
When he coined the phrase flying saucers? Are you referring to some of the articles that, like in True Magazine and Argosy?
Yes, the articles.
Well, now, 47, this is what, 58? That's a good 11 years ago.
Right.
And during 11 years, you've matured, and there's a lot of additional stories. What do you think about it today?
Well,
I'm emotional now.
No, not at all. I have never seen what I believe that is quite possible for them to exist. I base my beliefs mainly on the logical assumption that we aren't the only people inhabiting the universe. I can't imagine or accept the fact or belief that the universe is as large as it is supposed to be, and yet we're the only inhabitants. I think either there are more people or it's not as large.
I spoke to a lady about 15 or 20 minutes ago, and I asked her the question. I said, supposing I pointed to some individual standing there and I told you that this person is a Venusian or a Martian or a Saturnian, would you believe it? And for a moment she she said no. She would want this person to demonstrate telepathic ability. What would you require for proof?
Well, I would like to get along with the individual and converse with him, ask a number of questions, and then require him to achieve some feat that I think a Martian or inhabitant of Venus.
Now that gives me another question. What kind of feat?
Well, I have no idea at the moment.
Supposing a feat has been demonstrated to you this afternoon and you didn't have the ability to recognize it. Is it possible? Because you don't even know what your desire is. In other words, what you're looking for proof.
Well, that's what I say. After conversing with him, I'm quite sure that in the course of the conversation, some type of idea would make itself known in my mind.
I would appreciate very much if you cooperate with me a moment.
All right.
And ask, this is not a Venusian, but this happens to be Lester Del Rey. Lester Del Rey is a noted science fiction writer, and of course Ellery Lanier is the fact editor of Fantastic Universe, and Lester is a non-believer. He wrote the book Rockets Through Space, which is published by Winston, which is all based on fact. But I wonder if I can, for just a moment, just to play this part, I want to hear you
interview this man. Supposing I presented him to you and I said, this man here with the beard claims he's a Venusian. Now, would you take, and I'm very serious about that, I want to hear your line of questioning. This is not a gag or anything, I just want to hear it. You question him and determine in your mind in 5 or 6 minutes that he is or he isn't. Go ahead, let me hear it.
Well, first of all, how did you get here? Actually, I've teleported. Usually we fly in saucers, but this time it was cheaper to teleport. Cheaper? Yes, cheaper. As long as the other end is hooked up. Well, when you say cheaper, how do you mean cheaper? As far as money is concerned? No, cheaper in psychedelics. Well, I'll tell you, the psychedelic essence is a little above me. Well, I can explain it perhaps. You see, there's a field of high radiation around the Earth. That has been put there to keep the satellites from going too far at the present time. So when a Martian comes here on an exploratory visit, it is necessary now that he either have a very expensive field, psychically expensive, it drains him very heavily. To get through that, you may have read it in your newspapers, as a matter of fact, about 600 miles up. He either has to get through that by heterogeneous psychic energy, or he has to be sent to a teleport machine. Now, I cannot personally teleport. When the time comes, of course, the machine will draw me back. And that gets me through the field instantaneously, so there's no loss of psychic essence. And it's a really good purpose here. Purely curiosity. I was approached on that as a student with the proposition that I could spend my vacation here on Venus, and I chose to spend it here since there are more people here. Well, since you've been here, what do you think of the people? I find them a little hard to understand. I find them quite incredible. To me, it is very puzzling that they move around constantly by a process of friction. All cars move by friction and so on, and this is absolutely incredible. It seems like such a difficult way. I wondered how they've mastered this. Well, let me ask you this. This is very good. I'm sorry, sir, because I'm thinking of so many things here. I'm thinking of telepathic ability. That's my mind. Pathway of illusion. Conrad, I mean, we're just kidding around here for a moment. I think you'll agree with me that he had some very intelligent answers. Yes, I would say that... What would you say to this now? Well, he has the advantage over me.
What, wouldn't a Venusian have it, or a Martian have an advantage over you?
Well, I suppose so. Yes.
Well, now, what do you think? Because you know this is left to Del Rey.
Yes.
Do you think possibly after that...
Left to Del Rey.
That's right.
Yeah.
I don't know. Conrad, you beat me. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it a lot. Thanks for talking with us. Thank you very much. I think that's a classic. I only hope that Lester and Evelyn, that they're listening this morning, because I think that Lester did a masterful job on that. You know, this is strictly a spur of the moment idea.
No fun, and I didn't hear it while it was done, but I did hear Lester say that you had sort of put him on the spot a little bit.
Well, it wasn't less on the spot. We were talking to this gentleman, Conrad, was it? Conrad. We were talking with Conrad there, and he made the statement in answer to one of my questions that he thought that he could determine in his mind if a person was an Earth person or a Venusian or a Martian after interviewing him. And, I mean, I could have gone on and say, well, what would you expect the person to say to prove to you that they're a Venusian or something? So then it dawned on me, this would make a good little bit. And, of course, I will admit this, that I put less on the spot to the degree that, well, he was not aware of the fact that I was going to do this. But,
I think he squared himself. He did very well.
I think he did a great job. Tell me. Well, let's get back to the tape. Let's hear them now. What is your name, ma'am?
Maloney.
Maloney?
Yes.
Here today, right? Yeah. Which side, the dark or the light?
Oh.
Both sides, good. May, what do you think of this first annual interplanetary East Coast spacecraft symposium convention or what have you? What do you think of it?
Well, I think it's interesting because this is something entirely new to me, and I know my thoughts.
Go ahead.
But other than that, I really don't know what to say. I personally I'm one of the types of people. You got to be still. The only flying saucer I've ever seen is when we have a traveler home and one flying saucer.
How long have you... well, first of all, let me ask you, why did you come out here today?
Why? Because I'm here with my very lovely husband, which I think you'd love to talk to. And he's interested in all this business. Well, he leans towards that. He's very much interested, and he thinks that those things are possibilities.
Would you say that maybe your very lovely husband, let's say that there's just a little something wrong with him because he believes this?
No, there's nothing wrong with him. He's very intelligent.
Well, then he is, and I agree with you. There's no doubt he is. Why don't you believe it?
To each his own, because I have my mind is different than his. We all have individual minds.
No, I don't think this is like politics. You believe in one thing, he believes in something else. If this man is telling you that there's some truth in this, why is it your relative to believe it?
No, anything is possible. Mm-hmm. But personally, I would have to know much more about it than just to hear this one say that and that one say that. And a few of the people that I heard speak here, I must be very frank about it, they certainly did not impress me one bit. I don't think they knew what they were talking about. I mean, there was one speaker in particular.
Are you talking about Ellery Lanier?
I really don't know his name. I wouldn't want to embarrass anyone if they were around here.
This is Ellery.
How are you? I've heard some speakers after this gentleman that just spoke a little while ago. He spoke very beautifully, and it was most interesting. I just sat there and listened to him. But there were one or two others that I really believed didn't know what they were talking about. They didn't take their benefit.
Is this your husband standing behind you?
No.
Where is it? Jelly?
No, I think you really would like to.
All right, we'll talk to him in a little while then, all right?
I hope I didn't say anything to offend anybody, but that was my honest opinion. I think you're all very lovely, and this is very interesting, and, of course, you can always learn things.
I'm interested in that last comment you made. You say that very lovely. Are you including me with...
Oh, but definitely. I think it's very charming. It's very nice. And so is gentlemen around me. Well, you are.
No, I'm not.
You're a very nice personality.
But I'm not connected.
I know you're not connected. Connected with that, but you are a charming personality.
Thank you very much.
Well, I think you really would like to speak to him.
Shelley, come over here a moment later. Shelley, this is Ellery Lanier. Shelley, Lana? What are you doing?
Shelley, when did you see your first flying saucer?
When did I see my first flying saucer?
Yes.
Well, to be actually honest with you, I have not seen as yet my first flying saucer.
You look forward to seeing your first flying saucer?
Why not? Doesn't everybody? It's sort of mystical. It's that portion of our nature to look for the unknown, something intangible that we would like to make tangible.
But Shelley, that is your name, Shelley?
No, Sheldon.
Sheldon. Have you ever watched any insect hunters going after butterflies with a net? Running after butterflies with butterflies and jumping over the flowers. Do you think there is any similarity between butterfly hunting and hunting for flying saucers?
There might very well be. I think there would be more butterflies than flying saucers.
Have you found that there's a very interesting creature running around below our feet here? He's just escaped. I don't think he's a deer or a turtle. He seems to think he's what is called a canine on our planet.
Mm-hmm.
He's gone now. We can get back to the flying saucer.
That's our dog.
Have you heard anything today that was different from what you had ever heard before about flying saucers?
Well, actually, the only thing I heard, I've read several things as everyone else, you know. This tall chap, I've forgotten his name, from Oceanside, Long Island. I'm just listening to him speak just now. And he had a sighting, and he described it in full, and he also spoke about dogs howling whenever he walks down the street. And I thought that was unusual. And he attributes it to an inner sense or psychic knowledge or knowing of an animal as against a human being.
Yes. And what does that mean to you?
Well, the only thing it could mean
is that perhaps in our civilized state, we have come so far from, well, the closeness to the ground or to the heavens or to the more divine things of life that we have lost it.
Did you hear Lester Del Rey talking to Mr. Brown a little earlier, several moments or so ago? Did you overhear that conversation, Sheldon?
Well, could you go on
Oh,
and
you didn't hear that. Well, there was some very conclusive to the minds of certain of the listeners around this microphone, some conclusive evidence given as to why Mr. Del Rey is truly a Venetian.
Martian.
Martian?
Martian.
So, Lester, I'm sorry. I heard that...
Not a canal Martian. High Martian.
Well, we were trying to find out whether it was possible to prove that Mr. Del Rey was... Mr. Del Rey, Sheldon.
How do you do?
If you wanted to have conclusive proof that this man came from another planet, what would you require for proof?
Well, I would like to know how you came here to begin with. Well, what sort of media did you use? Teleportation. Machine teleportation, of course. Machine teleportation. Flying saucer some sort? Oh, no. That's been outmoded. What do you use? I get into the teleport and I'm here. Well, what is a teleport? Well, that's, I don't know myself because we have security police on Mars, too, and they have kept the secret from the general public. All I know is it works. So you're the general public? You're not above the masses, so to speak? I'm only one of the masses. But then you must certainly have a great background to be able to come here and to be spoken to this way. In other words, if I should ask you questions, you most certainly could give me, not secrets, of course, but you could give me sufficient answers. Of course. I see. And you might not understand them. They might not be incredible to you, but I could give you the answers, of course. I see. Do they actually have canals on Mars? No. As a matter of fact, the canals on Mars are an optical illusion we place there in the hope that sooner or later the human beings will get so interested they'll come over. So that seems a roundabout way to do it. When I refer to myself as not being a canal Martian, those people who originally put up the canals were actually a lower civilization. They didn't realize that sooner or later Earth would come over there anyway. And referring to a canal Martian, of course, means to one of a lower intellectual attainment or a lower standard of living. Either one now. It's a slang term now. Oh, I know. It has become a slang term, but it wasn't years ago. No. About 3,000 or 4,000 years ago when my father was alive, it was used quite casually. 3,000 or 4,000 years ago. What is the average lifespan on Mars? Depends on how long we want to live. It's a matter of interest. As a matter of fact, you could find the same thing if you're sufficiently interested in living. Well, how long have you lived? I am rather young. As a matter of fact, I've only lived 43 years. 43 but years? As a matter of fact, my catabolism is still running ahead of my anabolism. However, you look like a 43-year-old Earthman. Of course, that's the shape I assumed when I came down here. Oh, what is your shape on Mars? Martian. Oh, what is Martian for? To a Martian, he looks very... to an Earthman. Oh, well, the main difference, of course, is the wings. They're atrophied. They're no longer useful. But before we come here, we have them surgically removed and stored for grafting when we get back. And if I were to look at your back, would I see operational marks? No. After all, we've had plastic surgery for 15,000, 20,000 years. In other words, if I were to look at your back, I couldn't see any possible difference than the skin on your face. Well, physically, if you could find any difference, I certainly would complain to the surgeon who performed the operation. My goodness. Well, why not give us this secret? I think you have your secret. It's just a matter of the application of what's known now. But, frankly, this, what do you call it, this money that's used has so distorted the situation that the average surgeon is interested in acquiring this. This is one of the secrets that we'd very much like to know on Mars, just what money is. It seems to have certain values that we can't appreciate. And then you feel that our position, not so much for mankind as they are for monetary gain. I don't think that they are interested, for instance, in trying to make a human being look other than a human being. It's a very wonderful experiment. I should think that they would be perfectly willing to sacrifice a few 100,000 for it, but for some strange reason they don't seem to. John, is the AMA listening on this broadcast? Yeah, I don't think anybody ever listens. Well, I'm glad you said it, not I. The AMA is what? The American Motorist Association? That's pretty good. So, how long have you been with us? Let me translate. About 14 days. 2 weeks, I think it is. 2 weeks. Have you been here before? Oh, well, I've been here several times. So, as a matter of fact, I find it very enjoyable. How do you think we're getting along? All in all. You're getting along? I'm sorry to say exactly as we expected. You are sorry to say? I am very sorry. I'm sorry to hear that. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you. Let's practice Let's talk with this lady over here. Do you mind coming over, please? What is your name?
George Bergman.
George, did you hear this conversation between these two gentlemen?
Yes, I was listening.
Supposing that you had the opportunity of interviewing an alleged Venusian or Martian, and he gave you the same answers that Lester Del Rey gave, would you believe that the man was a Venusian?
Well, I would think he was very clever, and I still think he's very clever to give the answers that he did, but I doubt whether I would be completely convinced, and don't ask me what would convince me, because I don't really know.
Isn't that peculiar, though, that we all say that we would believe if we had sufficient evidence, and no one seems to be able to give the answer?
Well, I feel this way about it, that since the people on Mars are supposedly of a higher intelligence than we are, they could possibly know of some way to convince us, rather than us knowing of some way to ask them to prove it to us.
Is there any reason for them to want to convince us? Can you see of any good reason?
Well, I think that if they're mixing amongst us, and because we're accepting somebody else's word for it, they must be here for a reason, for a purpose, and it can't be just to mix amongst us anonymously. There must be a reason, and I should think that at some time they would want themselves to be known.
Have you traveled to any degree? In other words, have you traveled to foreign countries?
No.
How far? Where do you live?
Long Island.
Long Island. Have you ever been to Chicago or the West Coast?
No, I haven't been west. I've only been south.
Whereabouts then? Florida?
My house.
No other place to go. Let me ask you this. When you go to Miami, do you run around and tap people on the shoulder and say, may I have a moment of your time? I want to tell you that I'm from Long Island and I'm going to prove it to you?
Well, no, because I'm not there to try and prove anything to anybody.
Well, I think that you implied in your last statement that if a person comes here from another planet, that their reason for coming here is to tell people that they're here and to prove it. Is that right?
Well, are you implying that their reason for coming here is the same as mine, for going to Miami?
Well, very frankly, I don't believe that anybody has arrived here from another planet.
But we're having a wonderful time.
No, but I would say this. I don't know what their reason would be. I know that your reason, when you decide to take a trip to Florida, is for a vacation and that you'll enjoy yourself. You're not going there to try to prove to somebody that you came from Long Island. So why is it necessarily so that a person coming from Venus or Mars would be interested in telling you or anybody else that they're from another planet? I mean, if they didn't look different, you'll assume that for the moment that they look like human beings.
Well, they might not at this point be ready to tell us they're from another planet, but I feel that if they had the scientific knowledge to make the trip, it wasn't made out of idle curiosity. There must have been a purpose. And that's why I feel that at some time they might be ready, if they are here to let us know.
Fine. Thank you very much. Good day. We're out here at the first annual Interplanetary Spacecraft Convention, the East Coast Convention. And I was just wondering, I don't know if we're picking up some of the music in the background. If we are, that's the music that you're hearing. If it is music, I haven't heard too much of it. There's a lot of people out here. I don't have an accurate count. Somebody told me there's possibly 2,000 people out here. I doubt it. But nevertheless, it's a beautiful day, and we have quite a crowd around us. We're standing near Howard Menger's house on this 100-acre farm, and we're going to try to talk to some additional people. Now, Kayla Kazan is here with us, and I'm going to have Kayla and possibly Sergeant Morris Haley talk with a few of the people. In fact, we'll let Kayla start. You want to hold this mic? You know how to hold it? Don't move it back and forth, and you guide it that way. Supposing you interview a couple of the women, Kayla. Would you mind coming over here, please? Just come up here, please. What is your name, ma'am?
Fan Albert.
Fan Albert. And this is Kayla Kazan. Kayla, you want to talk to this lady momentarily? How do you do, Mrs. Albert? What made you come out to this first convention today? Curiosity about what, specifically?
Well, about space people and space ships.
Well, how long have you been here now? About how many hours?
Anyway, say about 3 hours.
And have you listened to some of the speeches and looked at some of the exhibits?
No, I haven't seen many of the exhibits. I've heard some of the speakers.
You've heard what they've had to say.
Yes.
How do you feel about it now?
Well, I'm not convinced. I didn't expect them to be convinced. As I say, I came merely out of curiosity, and I'm still curious.
Well, are you curious about something specifically, or just in terms of...
Well, specifically, whether there is such a thing as a spaceship, and whether any of these people have sighted folks from other planets.
Have you heard any of the stories, Mrs. Alper? Some of the
I've
people who say they
heard
have?
one person speak about it. He didn't convince me, I'm sorry.
So, in other words, you're a skeptic.
I am, I'm afraid so.
And you haven't... decided to go along with the space story.
Definitely not.
Thank you very much.
Well, that's more of the tape. And this is WOR Radio, your station in New York, Longjohn with the party line. As I mentioned a moment ago, our good friend Sergeant Morris Bailey of the Perth Amboy Police Department was walking around the Minja farm, and he was looking for people that he thought would be of interest to our listeners. And he was talking to a few people, suggesting to them that we would like to have the opportunity to interview them. And here's Sergeant Haley bringing a lady to Kayla Kazan to interview.
Well, here's another young lady to interview.
Hello, would you tell us your name, please?
Yes, my name is Denise Collier.
And I understand, Bernice, that you've read some science fiction.
Yes, I've been reading science fiction since I was 12 years old.
Well, that makes it about 8 years. You've done quite a bit of reading then.
Yes.
Well, would you like to talk about it a little bit? Tell us what
Well,
you
that's
think.
mainly why I'm here. I've read it so long, and most of what I've read, well, not most of it, but a lot of it seems to have a ring of truth to it. I really believe certainly the theories that they advance. Although I've never seen actual proof of them, I don't take Howard Mendel's story as proof at all. I don't believe in the contacts. I would like to believe in the sightings. But I don't think I would actually believe in it, honestly, until I undergone a contact myself.
You say you would like to believe in the sightings. Does this mean that you don't?
Well, actually, I believe in the sightings by the pilots and such people, the authorized people, the people who have some knowledge of what goes on in the skies and would know of anything unusual. I would believe those.
I see. And what about your reaction to this afternoon's conference, as long as you've been here?
Well, I think you have few crackpots here. And,
you're talking about the people who came as part of the conference, or the people who came to
a couple of the speakers, and anything like this, anything unusual like this, it seems to attract a certain number of people who will go for it wholeheartedly. They believe everything that comes down the spout, without any sort of proof, or that, some people just like to call attention to themselves. I think that's true, and I find it's a very good way, to put a little band around your head with the antenna sticking out and you're famous, And I would like to see some of the science fiction writers themselves. I know some of them undoubtedly look upon this as a very fine commercial thing and do not believe in what they write, although they have the talent to write about it realistically. But I'd like to talk to some of the people who have written about it and who believe in it, besides old Howard here.
In other words, you're not satisfied with what you've seen here
No,
today?
I'd like to see the filter come down tonight. That's I'd like to see it.
Well, we're with you. We'd like to see it, too. Thank you, Bernie.
Taylor, I just want to introduce the person who's come around, a very delightful lady, Margaret Thorne. It's a real pleasure seeing you here today. What is your reaction to this convention?
Well, I think it looks very, very exciting here. It certainly is beautiful countryside, and I think that some saucers should come to see us in this setting.
It certainly is a real pleasure having you here. I think many of these people have heard you on the party line sometime.
Yes, I guess so. Mm-hmm.
It's a great pleasure having you here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Taylor, I think there's a lady here would be very nice to talk to. Miss Miss Adams. It's so nice to have you. Can you tell us where you came from? I'm from Stony Point, New York, 7 miles below the Bear Mountains. And you came all that way? All by myself. I couldn't find anybody to come with me, so I was determined to come. Well, I think it's just wonderful that you came. Can you tell us anything about how you feel this afternoon, having seen all of this? Well, I'm tremendously interested, of course, to see all the people on the night line. That's one thing I'm very on the party line, I mean. And I am very much surprised to see so many people who are vitally interested enough to come to this convention. Well, do you think their interest is possibly the same as yours, or do you think they all came because they were interested in flying saucers and Howard Menzies' story? Well, I'm interested in the flying saucers. To this extent, I want to hear these people firsthand and see them. Because I'm not entirely sold. In fact, I'm not sold at all. I do feel that there is something up in the air, but whether it comes from outer space, that's something else again. You don't know what this kind of something is? No, I'm very doubtful that it comes from outer space. Well, thank you very much. It's been delightful talking with you, and thank you for coming down. Thank you. And what is your name, please? I'm Mrs. Joan Hearn from Larchmont. And you came from Larchmont just for the convention? Yes. We've been tracking down UFOs ever since we first heard about them years ago. Were you out at the West Coast at that convention? No, we didn't get that far, but I think my husband probably has every book ever published on it. And we want very much to believe that they are coming from other planets. Again, you as other people have said want to believe. Yes. Seems to me to indicate a doubt. I will have to actually see one myself before I'll be able to say I believe in flying saucers. But I saw something this summer that brought me awfully close to it. Well, what was that? It was in New Hampshire. There was a star low on the horizon, brighter than any other star. And no twinkle to it. My husband said it's moving. My friend and I said I don't think so. We went up together with the telescope. And by the time it came back, we realized that it was moving. We hit the telescope again, and it went vertically up. And then took off and then arced it right across the whole sky that we could see. About 1 minute later, another similar object. It looked like a large bright star. It had no star-shaped shape or anything that I could describe. Followed in the same pattern. Now, there were no blinking lights, no red and green, nothing that made me think it was a plane. But I still don't want to delude myself. So, it could have been an optical illusion. But then, several minutes later, 2 jets followed in the same path, as if they were tracking. I don't know. Other people thought. I'm very curious. But you wouldn't want to commit yourself. I can't. Because I really don't know yet. But I'm certainly never going to stop trying to find out. And I think the thing that's most interesting about this convention is that I look around and I see other people doing the same thing. We're all wondering if we're on the lunatic fringe or are we a lot of really normal, intelligent people. And most of us seem to think when we look at each other that we're pretty average, normal, intelligent Americans on the face of some truth. Well, I think that that's a pretty wise assumption that you've made, and we thank you for talking with us. Were you coming up, sir? What's your name, please?
Pete Rizicom.
And did you come down just for the convention this afternoon?
Just for the convention, yeah.
And what did you think of what you've heard so far?
I'm very unhappy because I don't think there have been any really authentic sightings and words said today.
Just today, or don't you think there have been any at all so far as your knowledge goes?
Well, as it happens, I believe flying saucers is not.
What makes you believe it?
Many sightings by qualified pilots with the witnesses and crowds seeing these things. The maneuvers, explanations that say they're sun dogs or moon dogs don't satisfy me. They maneuver. They are controlled. They follow planes.
Well, may I ask you, Pete, what makes these people qualified, these people that you say were qualified observers, qualified sightings?
Well, I consider a qualified observer a pilot, say, one who's spent many hours of flying time. Now, he won't misidentify a commercial aircraft, and he won't be fooled by a mirage either.
You think that there's no chance he could be overtaken by an optical illusion of some kind, or have a momentary weakness of his own side or something.
Well, I'm fine. 99% of sightings are erroneous or hoaxes or false. But many pilots see these things, and I think there are several of them, maybe many, who are qualified and aren't fooled.
Well, thank you for your interest and thank you for talking with us. We'll find out someday, I guess, whether your belief is right.
Thanks very much.
Hello. What's your name, please?
My name is Marion Bernhard.
And where are you from?
I'm from West Warwick, Rhode Island.
And how far did you have to come to get here?
Well, several hundred miles.
So your interest must be rather great.
Yes, I've been interested in unidentified flying objects for a long time, although I've never seen one.
What makes this interest continue? Is it just something that you'd like to know about?
I think when we realize that we ourselves are on the brink of space travel, that it is quite possible that some other planet has already mastered it. And if they were even a few hundred years ahead of us, it would be possible. So if we are on that stage ourselves, I don't see why people don't believe in them more wholeheartedly.
Well, are you willing to believe in them wholeheartedly?
Well, I think they're a possibility, although I haven't seen one.
But you won't believe in them, Nick. You're only saying that there's a possibility.
I think most of us came here for a single purpose, that is, to hear the information given. And I have noticed several different phases of it here. There is a group of what you might call the metaphysical spiritualist trained to say that they are the metaphysical appearances of people from other planets. In other words, they materialize and dematerialize their bodies and appear in this manner. Then there is the positive thinking group, optimistic viewpoint, when it's found the word problem. You know what I mean?
I think this lady's husband is present, and I think he has quite a disagreement with his wife concerning this whole subject.
Would you mind very much if we brought your husband in on this?
I think we ought to let Sergeant Morris Haley question this gentleman as to how he differs with his wife on this whole question.
What is your name, sir?
My name is Robert Bernhard.
Mr. Bernhard, I understand you came from Rhode Island, is that correct?
That is correct.
And what is your interest here today?
Well, my interest is somewhat less than my wife, but I believe there is a possibility, although my interest is not strong as hers is.
A possibility of what, sir?
Well, as when you consider that there are many other planets and other worlds, and it doesn't seem to me that God would have human beings or life as we know it only on one planet out of all that there is.
Once again, you're saying that we Earthlings are flattering ourselves to think that we're alone, initial, and there are no carbon copies. Is that what you mean?
That's exactly what I mean.
How would you tell if there were one of these persons on Earth?
I don't think some of the people who claim to be are.
Supposing, sir, I said that I were from the moon, how would you tell I weren't?
Frankly, I wouldn't believe you.
What would you want as evidence?
Something, some minor miracle.
There again, sir, leads another question. What do you consider a miracle?
Well, lift yourself off the ground or do something a little different.
If I were on the moon, sir, I would be able to leap over barriers because of the pull of gravity. Here I am bound by Earth's laws and regulations.
You put up a very good argument.
It's not an argument, it's a statement of fact. You see, I've come from the dark side of the moon, and for proof of it, I show a blue eye with a brown spot, the right eye. A blue eye with a brown spot. This brown spot being caused by peeping through a hole from the dark side to the light side. What other proof would you want, sir? You spin the eye, and you notice that the eye is brown in a spot.
I think you were born with it on Earth.
Yes, I was born here by teleportation.
Well, I mean, I can't argue with you because you say this and I say differently.
Well, let me explain to you just how I did get here. Unlike Lester coming here from Venus or Mars by his means, I came through mechanical teleportation. You Earthlings have raised such a howl over high taxation that we harness this noise.
for electrical impulses to run our machine. This machine, in turn, has sent me here.
Well, can I say one thing? You're saying this with a very straight face, and you're very serious, and yet you must be connected with this radio station, right? So you're saying this to draw an answer out of me, but your act, so to speak, is very convincing, which means that people who act that way, too, are not so. In other words, if you are from the radio station, which you probably are, then you're putting on an excellent act. I almost believe you, but I don't.
Well, sir, I'm not from the radio station. I might say that I was sent here to more or less undermine a police department. You see, I am posing as a sergeant of police in a community in the state of New Jersey. I am in no way connected with the radio station.
Fred, Ellery tells me that you told some people about some unusual experiences that you've had. You've had some sightings, is that true? Well, I saw something. I don't know what it was, but I couldn't explain it. Quite a while ago, about 1950, 51, I'm not sure, I saw two lights in the sky. I had never seen anything like that before. I don't think that it was an airplane. It didn't blink. It traveled extremely fast. I called up the airport to find out if they had any aircraft in the vicinity at the time, but they said they had nothing flying around that they knew of, so I more or less dismissed it. I have, however, been interested in flying saucers ever since I saw these objects wherever they were. Thank you very much, Fred. Thank you. Let me talk with this gentleman over here. What is your name, sir? Saul White. Saul, how long have you been out here today? Oh, since about 3 o'clock. Did you hear any of the lectures? Well, I've received a good many impressions. Telepathic? No. Just observations, but I can't say that I have been impressed. You haven't been impressed, that's what you're saying. That's correct. There's a rather heterogeneous group here, made up of all types of individuals with all types of motives and backgrounds, but I think there's one thing in common, and that I'm sure they're all people of goodwill. And what appealed to us mostly was the remarks of Major Aho and I think Weatherhill in his implications that here was an opportunity for people to forget their petty differences here, to perhaps arrest the tendency towards our self-destruction, and to develop a large point of view. Certainly, scientifically, interspace travel is quite possible. It's intellectually tenable. The famous astronomer Harlow Shapley, by a very, very conservative estimate, claims that there are possibly as many as 1 billion planets capable of supporting life. Now, I just want to get down to a personal experience. I happen to be a pilot with some 30 years' experience. I have a plane based over the Westchester County Airport. And on one occasion, happened to be around twilight, taking off towards the west. I encountered a brilliant elliptical bright golden object. The passenger with me noticed it, and his first reaction, by golly, this is a flying saucer. We stared at the thing and flew directly at it, and as we flew, the thing turned slowly into a haze of diminishing size and appeared to be proceeding away from us at a tremendous speed. After a while, that same object turned into what would be just a dull leaden color, and then it hit us. We were looking at a lake. The lake was between us in the air and the sun. And our angle with respect to the lake was such that this lake, which is round, was somewhat foreshortened and gave the appearance of an ellipse. Now, I've taken other people up when conditions were just right, with the sun setting, and we could duplicate this experience. And for all the world, to anyone uninitiated, they might assume this to have been a flying saucer. I'd like to ask you one question. Why are you so sold on the lecture that was given by Major Aho this afternoon? I accept only portions of it. I mean, I gather certain inferences from his lecture, which I hold with. In other words, it borders on what you might call a new religion, without perhaps the superstitions, without the ugliness, without the brutalities that we have in this world. Would you say then, if this is the start of a new religion, would you say that the flying saucers could be labeled as the packaging? Well, it might start to the window dressing, thinking beyond their own little sphere, get them outside of their own egotism, and personal attachment.
I gather then that you're implying that you don't believe the stories, but you think it's a nice way of presenting something that may be of value for people.
I'm not sure about the stories. I'm inclined to disbelieve the actual stories and accountings of landings, but I do maintain that scientifically this is rational.
In other words, this is something like telling your youngster about Santa Claus. This is great.
No, not at all, not at all. Not that I have any aversion to Santa Claus for children, you see, because it's certainly...
So this is for flying saucers for adults.
That's right. It isn't akin to the Santa Claus story at all. No, this is a...
Red Riding Hood?
No. This is a definite possibility. Definite, very definite possibilities, and certainly within all the bounds of what we can anticipate.
Is Santa Claus a definite possibility?
Well, I don't know why you keep thinking it's Santa Claus, because, as I say, I think it's a story, a pure fairy tale.
Santa Claus.
I'm saying Santa Claus. I'm sorry. It's a fairy tale just to keep children happy, and I'd be the last one in the world to deprive them of their superstition. It's a good thing for children. Of course, we can't always act and behave like children, nor do we want to accept the beliefs of children.
You think a person who believes the stories that have been reported here and in the various magazines and newspapers and books, such as the Adamski story and Howard Minger's story and Van Tassel, do you think that those stories, if a person believes them, that we could consider these people to be, let us say, a little childish?
Well, they probably believe them. They're quite sincere about them, and they go out recounting their experiences. And I'm not talking about the people who tell the stories, the people who hear them, who listen to these stories and believe them.
Would you classify these people as being a little childish or superstitious?
Just your opinion, sir. That's all. Well, I would expect them to have a certain amount of skepticism and to ask for certain proof.
You haven't answered my question.
Well, in a way, perhaps, if you'd rather... Yes, I have to hedge, because I can't give a pat answer to that at all.
So I'm not asking you for a 100% answer. I'm asking you what I consider to be a simple question. I'm not trying to press your question, but let me rephrase it again. First of all, are you acquainted with the Adamski story?
Yes.
Howard Minger's story?
Not very well.
All right, let's stick with Adamski here. You buy the Adamski story?
I think there's a small percentage of plausibility in it. I don't buy it wholeheartedly.
What part of the Adamski story do you buy? Let me ask you this. Do you believe that Adamski actually contacted, actually contacted Adamski?
No, any more than I believe the remarks of a speaker right here on this ground that I happened to hear about 10 minutes ago, wherein I just stepped in while he was telling some sort of a story, whereby a pilot in an airplane met with a collision at a height of 7,000 feet. His plane disintegrated, and he found himself floating down the ground without a parachute, and he landed perfectly safe. And while he was on the ground, he saw little green creatures that resembled asparagus there. And they told him that he had nothing to worry about.
May I interrupt you for just a moment, sir? Was that a tall young man telling the story, the tall tale? I mean, a tall man telling the story? Just a moment. I wonder if somebody within the hearing of my voice out here would be kind enough to see if you can spot that young man. Is he close enough? Unfortunately, I cannot leave the mic. Would somebody be kind enough to get that young man to ask him to come over here a moment? You're probably familiar with the story? No. One more. I did for him to... All right, proceed here.
Well, I'll tell you what. If you'll wait, will you wait for just a moment, sir?
Let me talk with this lady over here a moment.
This gentleman here, I said. All right, what is your name, sir?
Who is Kay Albert? What do you think of the day out here, Kay?
I found it very interesting.
Do you believe any of it?
No, not really. I just think such a retain point of the human mentality is involved, and the human expression coming out, and that's sort of curiosity. And the expression of ego is very important, and different people have to express in different ways to elevate themselves. But inferiority is one of the curses of the human mind. And I like to observe the curses of the human mind individually and group.
Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate your comment.
This is WOR Radio, your station in New York. Longjohn with the party line, 710 on the dial. And we're around from midnight to 5:30, 6 mornings during the week. Monday mornings we get started at 1, continue through to 5:30. That means we're around for 37 and a half hours a week. And now back to the tape.
Well, we're back here again. When I say we're back here again, we had to stop for a moment because we ran out of tape. We're working with a portable recorder out of the, I was going to say the fourth. Actually, it's the first, the East Coast Interplanetary Spacecraft Convention. I'll say one thing. It's been a wonderful day out here, and I've had the pleasure of meeting many people. Actually, my purpose of coming out to the convention here was not to talk to the mystical Tom Sawyer artist in Brooklyn or Howard Menzies or any of the other people I've had. I want to remind our listeners that you will hear a peculiar sound underneath the tape. It's sort of a sort of a pulsating sound. I was told when I was out there that a number of other people had that same tone on their recorder about during the same time that I was doing the recordings around, I think, this was maybe around 4 or 5 in the afternoon. Since then, the mystic barber told us he had some ray machine out there, something like that. I doubt it. I think there was just a mechanical defect. But continue to listen, please. A couple of minutes ago, and just in case some listeners have joined us during the past few minutes, may I ask you again, sir, to tell us your name? Saul White. And, this is really a tough one. They call me Long John. I feel like Short John at the moment. What is your name, sir? Alexander McNeil. Well, Al, I wonder if you want to cooperate. I can't ask this gentleman to stretch himself, but I can ask you to, sort of bend down with it. Do you want to come up a little bit, please? Sure. I wonder if you could do me a favor. Could you give me a chair there? Is there a chair or something? It'll make it a little more convenient because I don't want to lose the level chair. You can stand, you're younger. We'll let Alex sit down. Yeah. Alex, you want to sit down? I think you'll be just No, get up a little bit. Maybe you can just put your foot up there to sort of rest and slouch down a little bit. Would that be easier? No. Right. Now, we don't want to take too much time in this. However, I understand you were telling a group of people that they're sort of gathering around you to hear this unusual tale. You told them something about a plane that crashed up 7,000 feet in the air. You tell the story, will you?
Yes, Long John. A plane flying over Atlanta, Georgia, a civilian pilot. He was taking his test up in the air for the first time. His name is Fred Regan, and he was with a company down in Atlanta, Georgia. He was flying this plane 7,000 feet up in the air when he saw this lounge-like object in the sky, and he started to go after it, knowing a little bit about flying saucers, hearing it on the radio and in newspapers. And this object, as he started to go after it, did not look like a lounge object. It looked like a disc-shaped object. And he heard about these saucers. He had rose to 7,000 feet after this object, and he made a pass at it the first time, and the UFO stayed away from it at one time. Then all of a sudden he made another dive, and this time it was fatal to himself because the UFO went directly through his plane, through the tail of the plane. The object seen the man falling free of the plane, and the pilot had no parachute at all. As the story goes, as I have heard it, this man saw the farm fields and mountain area around coming up to meet him, and then all of a sudden he stopped dead in the sky. He had reached an elevation not very far from the ground at the time. This man seemed to be moved straight up in the sky, very slowly, as if held by some type of a grip. And this man was taken into this black room, which had a blue light, which went on and off, back and forth, across the top of the craft. And this man was, a microphone switched on, and the man was told that not to be afraid, that the Earth was under constant watch by these special type of craft, and that they could not return him his plane, but they would give him something better, which he could obtain through life. He had been given the information not to touch the sides of the craft at all, not to find out what it's made of. And he was sitting on this tank or a spunk-like object. It was like rubber, but very hard. And this man had a microphone switched on, or a switch was thrown, and a human voice, a very intelligent voice, spoke, and he says to this man, we cannot give you back your plane, but we'll give you something else in return. We will give you the cure to cancer, and that cancer will be cured to you in a foreign form. So all of a sudden he screamed and he blacked out, and he was returned to the ground unharmed and very safe after the experience. After the experience was told, a popular ambulance appeared and police, and this man was taken to a hospital, and he was checked up, and they did not believe his story, and he was put away in a sanitarium for the insane in Atlanta, Georgia. So this man, after he told the story to reporters and everything, he was detained for a while, and then he was shipped off to the institution. A year later, he died of atomic radiation and brain tissue. This was reported by the Atlanta Police Department, which was in postscript. So that is all I can tell you about this story. Would you like to say something about the story?
This is quite a mouthful to swallow. First of all, I doubt if a student, you said it was a student pilot on a solo flight, usually flying a craft that probably moves at 75 or 100 miles an hour, would dare to go after a UFO or anything much larger than himself. Usually a student wants to stay away from any other object in the sky, I assure you. The rest of the story about him floating down the ground or being intercepted and entered into a spacecraft isn't at all tenable to me. Although it may be possible, scientifically, at some day, for such a craft to exist, it may be possible someday to have an anti-gravity means whereby a falling body can be arrested in this fall. This is possible someday. But I'm inclined to be skeptical about the whole story. It's just too fantastic, and it reads too much. It sounds too much like a flight of the imagination. It would make a good short story. It's a nice yarn.
Well, there is one thing I said. This person was on his first solo flight. It was not a young boy. It was an old man, really a younger man in size, and that this man had a little bit of flying experience. But it was his first time to take a solo flight in the sky alone, by himself. He had been up with instructors and everything before this. But he had thought that he might as well see what was going on in the sky. He wanted to see what it would look like from the ground. And there is another thing I can say, is the anti-gravitational field. If you know that at Wright-Patterson Field, Dayton, Ohio, the United States government is now testing the anti-gravity field. It cost $3 million to build. It is a special room that will defy gravity, and they'll probably use it on the rocket trip to the moon for man in its first flight very shortly.
Where is this information obtainable?
This information is obtainable, but from the United States Air Force.
Do you have any comment on that, sir?
This is also possible someday, yes. I try to have a rather broad and open mind about these things. My background has been technical, and I say that this is someday possible. As a matter of fact, I did resent some of the remarks of Major Aho, where he kind of poo-hooed the influence gravity has on us. Gravity is the means by which we remain on a path. Gravity prevents us from extending our flight into space. And then he throws out the term electromagnetic propulsion. Now, actually, the two are very, very closely related. In fact, mathematically, they're treated the same. The physical laws involved in gravity are exactly the same as the behavior of the electromagnetic field, you see. And it strikes me as first the inconsiderate remarks of a person not well grounded in fact.
Do you have any opinions on this cancer cure, though?
Oh, no, I don't believe any of it at all.
You don't believe it at all?
I'd like to ask Mr. O'Neill whether or not you are just reporting the story of Regan, the pilot in this case, or whether you really believe the actual story.
I definitely believe the Regan story to be actual fact, because if I remember, a man now in South America, in Brazil, is now coming up with a cure for cancer through a jungle drug, which the natives may have the answer for in Brazil.
Does this have anything to do with Mr. Regan?
It might have a lot to do with Mr. Regan, because flying saucers have been now seen in Peru, landing on the Peruvian desert.
You say it might have, but you don't know of any definite connection between this doctor in South America and Mr. Regan, do you?
No, I don't believe the doctor in South America has anything to do with it, but I believe the natives in South America may have given the cure to the UFOs.
The natives gave the cure to the UFOs rather than the other way around.
Right, and they may have given something in return.
Well, this is very interesting. Apparently, we have to teach the UFOs instead of the other way around. I really don't see any connection between the work of this doctor in South America and the fact that Regan was given the secret of the cancer cure.
Well, he wasn't given the cancer cure secret. He was only given the cure to be cured because he could not return his plane.
Did he suffer from cancer?
He had cancer of the lungs. And there was one other thing that was said about the Regan story. Regan never worked near an atomic lab in his life.
And it's also
That's correct. Atomic radiation in the brain tissue.
That's a very interesting story. Thank you very much, Mr. O'Neill. And I didn't get you, Mr. White. Thank you very much. Right on.
If I'm not mistaken, I think that the next portion of the tape that we're going to listen to, Valerie had the mic and had one piece of equipment in one section of the grounds, and let's listen to it now.
We're here out on the farm of Howard Menger. The evening is growing on us. It is getting very dark. A planet has just appeared in the sky. If Mr. Howard Menger or Dave Field are available, I would like to know the name of the planet that is visible at the time. Bob Mackler, what planet is visible on the horizon now? There's a bright light above the horizon. I can't quite make it out amongst all these people around me, Mr. Mackler. What planet is it? It isn't Venus. I don't think it is a planet Venus. And I think it looks like Mars. Could it be Mars? Would you get the telescope? Would you find out who has the telescope and check on what planet? We may be receiving some vibrations from another world right now. Are there any people here who are receiving vibrations? Hello, Miss. Have you been here at the show today? What is your name? You don't come in? Well, you must be a Venusian, I assume that. Yes? Well, we have just spoken to a Venusian, which is very lovely. She is blonde, and she has no comments on planet Earth, which doesn't speak too well for her. Hello, what is your name? We have lots of Venusians here today. Have you listened to the speakers at the show today? Yes. You came late. Did you find them interesting? Oh, definitely. Right. Are you interested in flying saucers? That's why I'm here, obviously. Do you believe in them? I don't know. You're skeptical. What is your name? Rita Bodson. Where do you come from, Rita? Rockland Lake. Rockland Lake? No, Rockland County. Oh, well, Rockland County. That is New York State, I believe. And has anyone in Rockland County observed flying saucers that you know of? Have you observed any? I haven't observed anybody up there that's very interested, actually. Uh-huh. And what does flying saucers mean to you? Can you tell us what the word means to you? Why did you come out to verify flying saucers? Flying saucer just simply means object that we can't explain that's coming from this Earth. From this Earth? Yes, from another. I say we can't explain it as something that comes from this Earth. Yes. And it could be any shape or form. Have you read any of the books about flying saucers? Yes, I have. Which books have you read? Not actually flying saucers. I've read a certain amount of science fiction, but I wouldn't classify it as simply flying saucers. I have just been informed from our control board that the planet Jupiter has come up above the horizon. It is visible now in the darkening sky. And now we can get back to our visitors. I don't personally feel any special vibrations coming down from Jupiter, but it is very lovely up there. The other stars could be coming out very soon. It's a very beautiful evening. We've had a very lovely day here.
And Rita?
Yes. Now, you say that you have not observed flying saucers.
Oh, no, I've never observed anything that I could possibly comment on.
What would you think the effect would be on this planet Earth if people from other planets suddenly started to land and did not have hostile intentions, but were friendly to us? What attitude do you think people would take toward these visitors from outer space?
I think there's a great deal of receptivity in the country. I think people want it very much, hope and wish for it as if for one salvation.
Do you think it would open a new chapter in civilization, getting into contact with other worlds outside of our own?
Certainly, I think it would solve all the problems we seem to have here now, if they weren't hostile.
I see. Well, are you going to look for flying saucers yourself?
I'm waiting. I'm ready. Anytime they want to contact me, I'm very, very ready.
Well, are you just going to wait for them, or are you going to go out and look for them?
I look.
Well, it's a very beautiful evening tonight. We may have some good fortune and observe some saucers landing right here on the farm. Thank you very much. It's been nice talking to you. Sir? What is your name, sir?
My name is Phil Simmons.
Mr. Simmons, have you heard the speakers at this conference today?
Yes.
Have you had some interest in the flying saucer subject yourself?
Oh, yes, I'm very interested. Oh, I say since that first time Longjohn had this recording done down in John Rock Airport back in 1957, May or April, I've been interested since then.
Have you done any observing or reference to sources yourself?
Yes, I have, but I've never seen any.
You have never seen any. Are you interested in the subject of other worlds? Are you interested in astronomy?
No.
Mr. Simmons, what name is Simmons? I didn't ask you where you come from. Are you from this part of the country, Mr. Simmons?
I'm from East Orange, New Jersey.
East Orange, New Jersey.
Yes.
And what is your opinion of the people that you have heard speaking here today? I'm saying tonight, it's already evening, but they're speaking all day long.
Well, I thought it was very interesting, and that they sound like they were telling the truth.
They sound like they were telling you the truth. Have you, sir, as a child, enjoyed reading fairy tales and legends?
No, I don't think so.
You didn't enjoy fairy tales?
No.
You know, many children do enjoy reading stories which they know are not true. And someone has suggested today that all these stories about flying saucers are just fairy tales for grown-ups, something to entertain them with. What would you think of that kind of opinion?
No, I don't think it's something that is going to become a real thing someday. I say within another 5 or 10 years, they'll be here.
Would you yourself be interested in flying to other planets?
I wouldn't mind, as long as I got back in one piece.
Well, do you think there should be a guarantee attached to such a flight?
Well, as long as I got back, I'd say it'd be okay.
Do you think Columbus had a guarantee when he set out across the ocean?
No, I don't think so.
Well, you don't sound as though the spirit of adventure isn't alive in you the way it had been in people in the past. I mean, we want to have guarantees. We fly to the moon and we're sure we'll get back in one piece.
Oh, like if I would fly to the moon with somebody from another planet, you know?
Yes.
Like somebody that is a much higher being than that. Like if I say, I want to be the first one to the moon from this planet. I want to go down to Cape Canaveral and fly one of those first rockets to the moon. I wouldn't. But if I was sure, you know, if I meet somebody that's from another planet, you know, they say they're much more higher intelligent than me.
Would you be willing to undertake a risk, a certain element of risk that you might get killed in flying to another planet? I mean, really sure if you get back alive? There was just a slim chance. Would the spirit of adventure urge you to take that slim chance?
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, I'm very glad to hear that. It's a nice talking to you. Hello, sir. What is your name?
Ralph.
Have you attended the meeting today? Have you listened to the speakers?
No, we just got here a couple hours ago.
Are you a enthusiast for the subject of flying saucers?
Yeah.
Can you tell us something about how you became interested in flying saucers?
Magazines and Longjohn. I listen to Longjohn mostly every night.
Have you listened to the Longjohn show?
Yeah.
For quite some time? How long have you listened, sir?
Well, about a year or so. Off and on.
And Which of the reports about flying saucers did you find the most interesting or the most extra-scandal of the show?
Many of the stories sounds interesting.
And what's that?
Accurate, or it's a possibility.
Yes. And did you hear Mr. Linden's descriptions that he had given on the show? As a matter of fact, I believe I was talking to Howard some weeks ago and was asking him about some of the buildings on the moon. Did you hear any of the description
No, I didn't
of what
hear that. I just heard him on Jack's bar one night.
Oh, you did see him on Jack's bar? I see. And let me ask you, sir, have you thought of the flying saucers situation in terms of life on other worlds in contrast with life on this world?
Yeah, I believe it is.
Do you think that would be very much different from our knowing about life on the other side of the planet Earth?
Well,
you know, there's a continent of Europe and a continent of Asia, and there are people there on the other side of the planet Earth. What difference would there be if we found people on other planets?
Well, they could be beyond us, or they could be above us in language. And it's a possibility that I believe there's some that's brighter than we are, and there's some that's not as bright as we are.
Well, have you known of individuals who can take an automobile apart and put it together and repair a broken automobile engine without having any training in engineering? People who just pick it up.
Oh, yeah, that's a possibility, yeah.
And these people are not necessarily trained scientists.
No.
Do you think it is possible for technicians and mechanics at other planets to put together on device to flash the Earth and yet have these people quite ignorant of other aspects of learning?
No, that's a possibility.
And that it might be possible that the inhabitants of flying saucers might even be rather stupid persons who are all confused and don't know what's what and have come to this Earth and can't figure out who to contact, and they go around contacting someone here and someone there, and everything is all mixed up. They don't know where they're about. Do you think that is a possibility?
Yeah, well, it's just like now, we have telephones and television, but an ordinary person couldn't put a television together or couldn't put an airplane together or anything like that. But it still takes smart people. There's smart people here and there's smart people on other planets.
Thank you very much, sir. It's been very nice talking to you. Are we still on the tape there? I can't see through the darkness. The evening has fallen. He wants to talk to you. Thank you, Lillian. I would like to get the wire that is trailing across this glass from under our feet. Mr. Rapolsky, how do you do, sir? Where did you say you were from, Mr. Rapolsky?
Pennsylvania.
Have you been here through the entire day, sir?
I've been here since about 9 o'clock this morning.
And have you observed any flying saucers landing on the premises, sir?
No, sir, I haven't. I might say I'm waiting in expectation.
You are, and what kind of expectation would you say you were waiting in?
What you might say, when you're expecting something, you can't really define it.
Have you? Excuse me, sir. Yes,
Ellery, this gentleman has something very interesting to tell you about a friend of his in the Pentagon.
Very interesting. Mr. Rapolsky, instead of going through the questions of what happened today, tell us about your experience at the... Well, I didn't quite get the details, but we just turned in on that.
A friend of mine is a lieutenant colonel for the Army, and he works for the Pentagon. And it was his duty to send up the spotting team in Pittsburgh on the Sputnik. And I don't want to reveal his name, of course.
Well, you don't have to.
But he told me that the Pentagon has been in contact with people from outer space, and that there are such things as flying saucers. And I believe in it because...
Well, this friend of yours definitely stated that he has information that the Pentagon has had contact with people from outer space.
Yes, he says that there have been men of high authority that have actually been taken on trips there.
None of our government?
None of our government who have gone there to outer space. But they do not want to reveal this because they value their jobs and their positions, and they're afraid of public opinion.
Yes, sir. Have you yourself observed any of these?
No, unfortunately, I haven't.
This is the information that you have.
This, you might say, is second-hand information, but the gentleman I got it from, I feel it's quite credible.
Quite competent.
Yes, I do.
And this is information that you cannot give the full details of. At the moment, it is a security question, undoubtedly.
I can tell you this much, that due to the fact that the high-ranking individuals, would not reveal this, the visitors, I would say, from outer space, work their way down in the government, from the top flight to the next branch, on down to the average man.
Well, Mr. Rapolsky, I think that in terms of security, I don't want you to reveal any more of this information. We may be going on grounds that we are not permitted to tread on. So it's been very nice talking to you, and thank you very much, sir.
This is WOR Radio, your station in New York, Longjohn with the party line.
We ran out of tape while Ellery was talking to Mr. Rapolti. How was that pronounced? Rapolti. And, of course, at that time, I suppose I was thinking about doing a station, like, saying W on radio, your station in New York, 710 on the dial. However, we found that Mr. Rapolti's story was so interesting that we asked him to tell us more after we had a new reel on our recorder. So here's Ellery and Mr. Rapolti again.
Mr. Rapolti, a moment ago I was mentioning the fact that you have certain information which goes against security regulations, but I think we can ask you about some of the experiences and information that your friend gave you. Could you tell us more that wouldn't go against security?
Well, he didn't go into too much particulars about it, but he said that high-ranking officials of the United States government had been contacted by visitors from outer space, and that actually they had traveled from our planet Earth to outer space.
Officials of our government had traveled to outer space with people who had come from outer space.
That's right.
Mr. Rapolti, is your friend a reliable individual?
That is something that I personally would have to evaluate. I feel that he is a very credible individual. I feel that he is competent because the government wouldn't have sent him to Pittsburgh to set up one of these Sputnik scouting teams.
Is he an astronomer?
Yes, sir, he is.
Is he a professional astronomer, sir?
With the Army, yes, he is.
Well, that would mean that he is competent to observe objects in the sky and report on them accurately. That is your training.
Yes, sir.
Now, could you tell me some more of what he has told you in terms of these people from outer space?
Well, from what I've gathered in conversations with him, our high-ranking officials will clam up because they don't want to talk about it. So actually, these visitors of outer space have come on down the chain of command until they finally reach the average people, like Mr. Menger here and various people throughout the United States, who have nothing to lose by telling the people this thing. I mean, they're not going to be thrown in jail this year. I mean, they have nothing to lose, a family to lose. That's why they can tell these things and talk to people about it. Because, I mean, they don't hold a high-ranking office.
Well, Mr. Rapolti, did your friend tell you how people from outer space can just come into the United States of America and move around and meet people?
Unfortunately, as far as the technical data is concerned, I don't think I could actually fathom it too much because I don't think I'm technically, I can adapt it that much.
Mr. Rapolti, what you have just told us indicates that if what you have told us is true, this would indicate that almost all the various stories of contacts with people from other planets have not only a grain of truth, but are true.
I feel it's quite terrible.
This is an attempt on the part of these space people to make some kind of contact with the people in the United States.
Definitely. Well, that was my reason for coming here to this East Coast convention, feeling that finally things are really going to, the truth is really going to be laid out to the public.
Where did you come from, Mr. Rapolti?
Pennsylvania.
And you came here because you expected some truth to be revealed
Very
finally.
definitely. I thought that maybe there might be government men here, government people here, that there might be something to it. I actually might talk about
Can you tell us something about these people from outer space? Did they actually go inside the Pentagon? Were they inside the government buildings talking to our officials?
When my friend, all he said was that they were contacted. I don't know whether they physically went in or how it was, but he said that they were contacted.
Did he tell you how these people from outer space spoke to our government officials?
Yes, he mentioned the fact that they do speak English and they do learn the languages the same way we would learn a language in school through study of the tongue. They say the same way as we do.
Did your friend's story imply that these people came to Earth by flying saucer devices?
Spacecraft is actually what he identified. I mean, I can't call it a flying saucer. I mean, that's just the term we give it. But a spacecraft, you see.
In a spacecraft.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the latest information that you got from your friend, Mr. Rapolti?
Well, I'd say it was about a month ago that he told me that when he revealed these things actually to me, he was talking in this conversation. This never came out before. It was the first time he'd ever talked to me.
Is this confidential information, sir?
Well, he talked to me about it, so I don't know whether it is confidential or not, because I've talked to a few people here today who seem to know the same thing as I do. The officials have been contacted. There are people here right now on this lot who know the same information that I do.
Well, what do you think can be the purpose of these people from outer space and coming here with craft and not being able to contact our officials and going around and just talking to people everywhere?
Well,
it happened to me. What is the point of this?
I talked to one fellow today who said that the people from these visitors from other planets, a series of 12 planets, of which we are the lowest form of intelligence, and they want to bring us up to a par with them. They want to actually educate us. You see, to bring them up to a par, they're afraid that they might have wars and things and completely destroy us.
Well, why would they want to do anything good for us in particular? Is there some reason for this?
Well, there must be some reason behind it.
Well,
another gentleman I talked to on the subject today said that they're afraid that if we should come to a nuclear war whereby there is a chain reaction of nuclear explosions, it will completely disrupt the solar system to an extent that it might endanger their lives on other planets. Now, this is a scientific fact. This has been stated in magazines that if there is a definite chain reaction set up by 3 or more hydrogen bombs dropped on the planet Earth, that there will be definitely a destruction of that complete planet.
Well, I can see the point. I recall just about a month or two, maybe 3 months ago, an article in the New York Times in which a Norwegian or one of the Scandinavian country scientists put in an official protest somewhere in the United Nations against sending any rockets to the moon containing an atomic explosive. In terms of the atomic explosion on the moon's surface, setting the moon off its orbit to a certain extent, which would create torrential floods and havoc right here on the planet Earth.
That seems to be the same idea that would happen if Earth was disengaged from orbit. It would also send out vibrations that would actually send other planets into disorder, of course.
Mr. Raposi, from what you know, do you think these people are in a position, these people from outer space are in a position to stop us before we can create such a cosmic cataclysm, or
I feel that
if
they definitely have an interest in our planet Earth, they will definitely stop it. If they have no interest, I don't think they'd spend the time coming down here and talking to us.
Well, Fred, does that mean we can relax and not be worried about our planet being blown up now? These beings will sort of make it safe for us?
Look at it this way. Now, I talked to another gentleman here today who said that we do have scientists on the moon. Now, that there are Russian, Chinese, Japanese, and American scientists on the moon right now.
Well, you are talking now, I believe, about are you talking about Mr. Manger or one of the other gentlemen? I don't know who it is you're talking about.
There's a gentleman that I met here today and talked to who's connected with Mr. Colton and Mr. Carr in their space journey.
I see.
And he related to me that he has some contact with
Raposi, may I ask you what your training and background are in?
I'm an interior decorator. And this is actually a hobby of mine.
Have you observed the stars? Have you gone into study of the planets?
Yes, I have.
Are you familiar with the planets in the sky? Can you recognize them when you see them?
No, I don't believe I'm not. As I say, I'm just an amateur on it right now. It's sort of a small hobby with me, but the interest is there.
Well, Mr. Raposi, it's been a great pleasure talking to you, and I feel much better now that I know that in case we are about to blow up the planet Earth, these beings will save us before it happens. I am very much more relaxed than I have been for years now. Thank you again, sir. Nice talking to you. What is your name, sir?
I'm Louis Muller.
Louis Muller?
Yes, sir.
And where do you come from, Mr. Muller?
I live in Newark, and I was born in Passaic. I'm a student in Bloomfield College, Bloomfield, New Jersey.
What are you studying, sir?
I'm studying physics, majoring in physics.
Have you listened to the Longjohn show?
On many occasions. I've also taped some of the sections of some of the broadcasts to study because I find his programs very enlightening. Most of the time, they're very enlightening and very amusing at times. You're undoubtedly aware of this yourself.
Yes, I am quite aware of that. I have participated in some of the programs. Let's get back to the flying forces and your interest in physics. Did you hear any of our programs in which we had certain physics instructors who complained about the accuracy of the science discussed on the Longjohn show? Have you heard any of that on the show?
I don't recall any programs of that nature, but I have heard Howard Menzer and his wife, Miss Baxter, on the air. I've heard other gentlemen. I've heard Longjohn talking to Sergeant Morris Haley. I've also heard him talking to one of the other gentlemen. I can't think of the name now, who's been involved in this matter. They've spoken about Otis T. Carr and to discuss his research.
Now, as a physics student, what year are you in your study of physics?
First year, sir. I finished the first semester in June, and I'll resume on Monday.
I'd like to ask you one or two questions. We have a very famous cybernetician on this show, a man of exquisite intellect, who was also a lyric poet. And he was mentioning to me some interviews he had today with some science students. And this is in line with the question of whether the Longjohn show has incompetent people discussing science. What is your opinion of the scientific questions discussed on the show?
I think in general, first of all, let me make this statement. In general, Longjohn himself does his utmost to prevent the questions and the answers given from becoming wild. Furthermore, generally speaking, the vast majority of the people that I've heard discussing science with him seem to have a pretty firm and accurate background insofar as I can tell. And I don't claim to know a great deal about science. I'm very interested in, of course, and I'm interested in learning anything I possibly can. But on occasion, I have heard some people who have made wildly exaggerated claims based on the knowledge that scientists have in general, such that I've learned thus far. And these people I tend to discount as having any genuine knowledge or being of any particular value, other than to generate a great deal of hate.
Mr. Miller, I want to ask you a question. Have you heard of a device called a maser?
No, sir, I have not.
Well, I don't want to go into that. I am conducting a certain survey as to the education that our young people are getting in the field of science and what is happening today. And we have been asking this sort of question around, and I'm trying to find out the level of competency of science students as against persons who have not got science training but have been out observing flying saucers and have been brought in reports for which many of them have been ridiculed and been made into singing fools. And I have tried to, by comparison, find out what our science students have been getting in the way of accurate information and grounded information as to what is happening in the field of science today. I would say, what do you know about this science of cybernetics?
I spoke to Mr. Ben Isquit just a short while ago, and he explained the essence of cybernetics. And I also learned that he operates I believe he said it was a computing machine. He programs the machine. So I derived a pretty fair idea as to just what cybernetics consists of.
Had you known that before you spoke to Mr.
I'd heard of cybernetics. I'd heard it discussed briefly, so that I was quite vague on the meaning of the word cybernetics and the nature of that art.
Mr. Muller, you have heard Mr. Otis P. Carr speaking on the program, and you have heard him speaking about a spacecraft. Have you heard his descriptions of the device, of the mechanical device?
No, those programs I missed. I heard people discussing him and his spacecraft, but I never heard him until this afternoon when he spoke at our gathering.
As a physics student, sir, have you heard of an object or a device which can rotate a rotor at a speed of up to 5 million rotations per minute?
No, sir. The fastest rotational device I've heard of is perhaps a drill that is being manufactured by a dentist and is capable of speeds somewhere in the neighborhood of 30,000 revolutions per minute.
Not going up into the millions?
No, sir.
For a metal rotor?
For a metal rotor.
Rotating metal object going up into the speeds of millions of rotations per minute?
No, sir. I have not heard of anything of that nature.
I see. Well, this is also part of my justification for the flying saucer observers, because this has been achieved here in the United States in the laboratory.
Yes, I don't doubt that.
Yes. I am trying to discover now what our education of science is achieving. I am not a scientist and I am not a physicist. I am not really qualified to talk about this subject. I scrounge around in my own awkward manner trying to find out what is being discovered. I believe I have seen what looks like a flying saucer very recently. I don't say for certain that it is so, but I am trying to find some means of justifying the strenuous efforts made by these very persons to discover saucers. But you say that you think there is a possibility that all these stories are true. Did you say that, or did you question?
What is this, concerning the accuracy of the statements made concerning flying saucer reports?
That is right, sir.
Do you also include statements such as those made by Howard Menger?
I would include all the statements, and a cover-all statement of flying saucers. What is your opinion of it?
Well, I'd like to say this. I became interested in flying saucers some years ago, and at first I was quite skeptical. But recently, having learned of people such as Mr. Menzer and also George Van Tassel, and having read books such as the book The Flying Saucers Are Real by Major Kehoe, I do not discount these stories. Undoubtedly, some of them are wild, some of them are fictitious. They're made up by publicity seekers. But I feel that a good many of these people are very earnest. Having spoken directly to Mr. Menzer, he seems to be very earnest. He seems to be very sincere. And
Mr. Miller, I want to ask you one question before winding up our interview here on the Longjohn microphone. You are aware of the discoveries of Mr. Yang and me concerning the unbalance of nature? Have you been taught anything of that in your physics courses at school?
Not in my physics courses, but that is vaguely familiar. Could you elaborate on the question just a little further? It's vaguely familiar.
Well, I will tell you this. When I was going to school and studying physics, I found that I was being taught the physics that was contained in textbooks of about 100 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it isn't too long back that I was at school, and I'm interested in finding out what today, 1958, is being taught to students who will be part of the crews of our spacecraft going to other planets in the very near future. This is all on schedule. This is no longer daydream or fantasy. And I'm very much interested in finding out whether our schools are fulfilling their responsibilities. Now, the question I ask you concerns the question of equilibrium in the universe, whether the universe is a balanced scheme or whether there is an unbalance, whether time and space are symmetrical in our existence, or whether time and space can exist independently.
Sir, I'd like to explain something. I've completed only one semester of college physics. I had no physics at all in high school, only chemistry. And the semester that I have completed concerned electricity and magnetism and light, and very little else. However, this semester we will go into mechanics to a certain degree, and therefore I dare say that we have not yet come to discuss that subject which you have mentioned. However, I would like to say this, by way of the information that has been given to us. My physics instructor, Mr. Kilburn, did make the statement one day that engineers had recently accomplished passing the electron beam, sweeping the electron beam of an oscilloscope across the face of the tube at such a speed that the trace moved more rapidly than the speed of light. And this, of course, does not defy any known conventions. It does not defy any of the laws of Albert Einstein and so on. But this was an interesting fact that I had never heard before.
What does this mean?
I beg your pardon, sir?
What does this mean, what you have just said, that in effect someone has done something that enabled radiation or light waves to move across the field at a speed greater than the speed of light? Does this mean nothing?
No physical mass has been moved in excess of the speed of light, because the electrons are shot from a gun and travel toward the face of the tube. But once they leave the gun, they do not change direction. But let us assume that a bunch of electrons have just left the gun and head for the face of the tube. They're headed to a certain position. The next bunch of electrons are moved over. The angle of movement is changed.
What I mentioned to you, what you have just told me, sir, is something that has been claimed by observers of flying saucers from the first days of the observing of flying saucers. Were you aware of that?
No, sir, I was not. But that's interesting.
Well, that is very, very interesting to hear. Mr. Muller, I think we'll conclude at this moment. Thank you very much, sir.
I've been very pleased to meet you, sir.
Hope to meet you again. Why don't you drop us a note at the...
I'll do that, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
During the time we were out at the spacecraft convention, everybody was talking about the letter that I received a copy of, addressed to Miss Marla Baxter, care of Longjohn Station, WOR, New York 18. And this was read at the convention. What it means to you, I don't know. What it means to me, nothing. Would you be kind enough to read it for Lester Del Rey?
Right. Dear Marla, I listened in on the discussion between Harold Major, Longjohn, and Charles William on the morning of the 28th of March, and although I had to leave at 2:50, during which time that you took a coffee break, and by so doing tried to miss the better part of the revelations being discussed. But actually, until now, we have never divulged the reason for our return, or even wished to prove that we are here. Be assured, Marlowe, that I am in no way trying to discredit you or the many others with claims of physical contact, for you see, dear, to allay all fear of us, we have conducted an extensive campaign of thought transmission. And although we realize the difficult problem of breakthrough, consider this medium as the one less likely to cause apprehension or chaotic upheaval in an established social system, period. We know that very deep concentration on the part of an individual will materialize a mental image as a factual experience that works necessarily in the recording of both visual and subjective thought impressions in the brain are so closely related as to cause this condition. The success of our plan of a final effect is still apparent, for at least we have not generally been depicted as ravenous monsters or ravaging hordes bent on conquest, but merely as unidentified flying objects which seem quite harmless. We have now completed the task to which we were assigned without any unforeseen mishaps, and perhaps in the near future our respective governments may have a direct contact. So let us take this matter as another after-record straw for the purpose of psychological reaction. I will not use technical phrasing, although some may be symbolic. We are directing it at you, Marlowe, for reasons that until now I believe that you are the only one, and all the persons with claims of riding and flying saucers, meeting small men and large, with the impression that you originally came from the planet which has been named Venus, and also in the past you made a very favorable impression on one of our groups. I will touch only briefly on the events leading up to our presence here today, for I will have to carry you back.